sustain through this melt. Furion goes down early. There's no sustain left. Goku going to town. Raffle falls, backing on up to just make sure that Tyrael and Diablo do not make it out of here. There's no chance of Blaze to stop this. Tempo Storm will qualify for America's Regionals.
Kamir getting body blocked. He's going to end up falling. Good hook from Battery. That's going to secure the kill onto Zagara.
But they're able to stun him out. Battery is so very low, but he gets over the wall, and Tyrande goes down.
The power slide peel. Now Medic is that's going to fall. Murden will dwarf toss over the wall, but die to McIntyre. Just hitting on Medic. The rest of the team is just getting annihilated. Shot, please. All right, relax there. Stalling them out, but Zagara goes down. Oh, but go for the throat, gonna pick up the kill. So Deadly Eyes getting the first kill of the game. Bringer Frost does nothing, and this is looking terrible for Resurgence suddenly. Backing up pretty quickly though. Shot signal. The Punisher turns around. The Sundering blows up Shot. Watch out for the Wailing. They're grouping up a lot. Big Sundering, and they immediately blow up Tyrael in this fight.
Chain Bomb going down. That's going to be the death of Shot. Daihu's going to go down. Rhaegar's going to fall as well. Shadowstalk has been used. Shot getting very low. He falls to Glaurung there, and Glaurung gets out just fine.
We do see Kashi falls. Once again, Apocalypse is going to get some massive value, and the gust from behind.
Oh my God, with the body blocks.
What a ridiculous player. Somehow Panda Global is getting away in the closest scenario.
Oh, the dance gets 3 people. Caterpillar looking to hold them still. Arthalon does come in with a great silencing arrow. That is going to completely turn this fight around thanks to the quick thinking from Brightwing. Fantastic grab onto Faye with the follow-up polymorph.
Welcome back to the Heroes of the Storm North American Regionals. We're glad you're joining us if you just joined us, but where have you been? We've had some amazing matches, not the least of which was last match when Team Naventic faced off against Tempo Storm. We had a best of 3, and it went to all 3 games. We even saw a little bit of Cho'Gall. And that was a great way to wrap up that Group A play for today. Now, we're going to move into Group B. We did have Team Naventic move forward into the semifinals, and Tempo Storm and King of Blades Alpha will have to face off for that next spot. That's all happening tomorrow. It's time to focus on Group B. So let's take a look at the bracket as we move into that side of things. First of all, we're going to have Cognitive versus Team Blaze, then Cloud9 will face off against Team Nom, but we will have 4 matches in Group B, so those won't be the only 2 you get to see. Which one are you looking forward to most? Please let us know by tweeting with the hashtag HGC. You can interact with me, you can interact with the casters, you can tweet pictures or give your predictions. We've seen that you guys have been voting for your favorites and changing your minds quite a bit, which is fine. We love to hear what you have to say, so please do interact with us. Now, it's time to bring on the teams. They're fresh, they've been waiting all day, and they are really ready to show you the best possible games. The first team, you heard their name already, and they're here to show you what they're capable of. It's Cognitive.
Alrighty, Cognitive, I mean, they are definitely here to play for their best Dreadnought. I mean, Glaurung, a absolute staple in competitive Heroes of the Storm.
I mean, yeah, no, a lot of this team is going to be a very veteran group of players, right? You have Glaurung, Caterpillar, Chthon, Faye, Iacona. Every single one of these teams, or players on this team, has been around the scene for, I would say, a minimum of 6 months, at least falling in within the top 3 teams throughout that entire duration with just a little bit of mix and matching here and there. And it shows in the record, right? They're 15-2. It's they definitely have a lot going for them when it comes to their expertise and just strategic overall.
Dreadnought, that's right. Cognitive is very experienced. They were even very high ranking in the North American Championships last year. But this team that's challenging them, this is only their 2nd LAN event ever after Heroes Rising. Let's welcome them. It is Team Blaze.
The boys of Blaze. We've got DXN, Huge, Cladius, Battery, and Rafflecopter, and man, they are definitely here to play as well. Look at this. They're feeling, they got cheese in.
They're bringing the cheese, boys.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Cho'Gall cheese? What kind of cheese?
I mean, Blaze has been known to be that kind of creative team, right? A lot of teams like to give them, kind of throw them into the corner and be like, nah, they're just a cheese team. I wish they kind of pull out a play there a little bit. 21-4 there. Artanis being one of their most, remember when I was talking about that cheese? There you go. Their most first pick being Artanis here, I definitely don't think it's cheese, because if it is, it's spicy cheeses, man. They're laying it down because they are here. They're one of the top 8s, right, in North America.
These teams have had lots of time to rest, like I mentioned, but they've also had time to get sleepy and complacent. So it's time to really turn on their brains as they now move into the draft. Guys, what are you expecting to see?
Oh man, what are we expecting to see in the draft? Well, I hope we get to see some interesting drafts for sure. Artanis being one of their most played heroes with Brightwing, Sky Temple their prioritized map for Team Blaze.
Yeah. I think there's gonna be probably some of the most unique drafts that we're gonna see so far in the day. Not only because of Blaze, but also because of Cognitive. I think they have a lot of priority picks between these two teams. Specifically, I know that Zeratul is gonna be a very heavy go-to. I also know that Blaze has been known for their Cho'Gall. We saw Tempo Storm taking a game off an Eventic there. Game number 2 on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Blaze has just been they brought the popularity kind of Cho'Gall to the North American meta, and it's gonna be really interesting to see how that comes into play when it comes to some of these maps.
But like you mentioned, I mean, Glaurung has been a staple for those melee assassins.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
like, you know, Zeratul really comes to mind with him. His Thrall is great and all, but Greymane, another big pick for him, that new hero that's kind of starting to make a wave in North America.
No, he's been playing the heck out of Greymane, and it's something that he kind of does is he becomes really known for one current like hero within the meta, and I definitely think Zeratul and Greymane are kind of going to be the go-to for him. I don't think they'll over-exaggerate the prioritization of him. I do think he'll be higher than other teams, but I don't think it'll be like first pick, first ban by any means, where I think that Zeratul kind of falls into that bracket. Outside of that, I don't see them using anything too crazy there. More than anything, it's trying to understand what Blaze is going to prioritize when it comes to these drafts. I don't, honestly, I can't even sit here and tell you that I know what we're going to see. I know that they are going to try and catch us off guard. And other than that, I don't know really what to say. They're going to just, I think Zeratul is the only one I can tell you, look out for him.
Look out for him for sure. Now, this is, of course, Dragonshire, and it's a map where we do see, you know, the heavy 4-1 often. You have the rotation between bottom and mid very frequently, and just the solo hero in the top. So how does that change the lineup? I mean, could this mean it's not really ideal for Illidan, maybe less play for Illidan? We haven't seen him yet today.
We haven't seen him yet today, and it was a hero that I actually was really hoping to, and I'm not even going to count him out yet. I still think he might be something we look for. When it comes to Illidan on this map, it's not that you can't pick him. He definitely can, but it's a very, very niche situation where you can get away with him up in that kind of upper lane. So I wouldn't expect to see him here. You are correct when it comes to that kind of 1-4 that we're going to expect out of these two things. For me, when it comes to Dragonshire and I think about these two teams, I know what I'm going to be looking for. I think Zeratul, I think Zagara, I think Thrall, and I think Falstad. Those are, in my opinion, what are going to be some of the higher contention. And then I think in that mid part of the draft, we're going to be a heavy prioritization of things like Greymane, a little bit of possibly Brightwing coming up from the two teams.
Leaping, of course, very good here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I'm going to be, what I'm most interested in, I think, when it comes to this draft, is what the 4-man of Blaze is going to be with their creativity when it comes to their compositions. The kind of 4-mans that they might be able to construct, especially with, like you saw that Artanis hover, right? Like being their most played, is if they're going to make something happen in that kind of draft, right? Like where they just, I mean, make Trickslayer happy, pull out that Artanis, show why he's the best hero in the game, and I mean, walk away with a big win. It's just going to be interesting.
Yeah, and of course, this is a map where we also see, you know, kind of that global presence style. Sometimes we see Falstad with Brightwing. So if you see Falstad, that might mean Brightwing as well for that late game. Just the epic mount, the phase shift, the amount of presence it gives you with late game decision making, fighting over those shrines. We've seen very cool styles like that. And of course, Tassadar is very good just to kind of give you eyes on for those rotations when they happen. But we are here, the first ban on the side of Team Blaze here in game number 1 on Dragonshire.
Yeah, I think a lot of this is going to come down to, I think a lot of it, like I said, is going to be the Rhaegar, Zeratul is going to be early in the draft, and again, the Zagara, the Thrall, the Falstad, all of those are going to be huge pickups here. The solo lanes, they're also sustained DPS, and then more than anything, the global as well when it comes to that kind of Falstad. All are great picks here, Jake.
Yeah, very strong options. Well, they're just going to pick their poison as to who they don't want to deal with the most in this game. Frequently, we don't see those Rhaegar bans. We tend to let the second team ban Rhaegar because if he's left open, he's a very common first pick. But, of course, those solo laners like Zagara are heavily sought after. Yeah, and Zagara is going to be that first ban there. So, look, there goes the Zeratul. And what they definitely like to do most of the time is once they isolate out that kind of top lane situation there, if it is going to be first pick, which they're baiting the Rhaegar, it's something they love to do, and then they're going to
lock in that heavy Thrall in the top half of the map, and then probably most likely going to be a fall set as well in order to secure that kind of global, but then also sustained DPS. They might even, and then Thrall going to be on the upper half of the map, so winning that top lane convincingly as they can do. I don't know if they expected the Zag ban. It's going to be interesting to see, but there you go. Again, that Thrall, great top laner for them.
Yeah, like you said, Falsehead makes a lot of sense here, so he will be locked in very quickly. Cognitive, just very, methodical. The standard meta here, a strong laner and then a strong presence. But Blaze, they do have the most sought-after support in the game. They can easily grab a top damage dealer, and like Li Ming, maybe Jaina, and of course, a top warrior isn't all that uncommon. Muradin being locked in.
Yeah, that's a really good pickup there on their half. And what else they're going to be looking to do here? Rhaegar with the Muradin. Again, Cognitive, I think, has got a really big advantage here so far in the draft, largely because the solo that we were talking about, that one of the 1-4, is really going to be interesting to see how well it's going to be played out. Also, hot topics, as we said already earlier on, that we should be looking at here is if the Greymane is going to make it through the draft, whether or not Glaurung's going to want to pick that up for himself, right? The Zeratzel's kind of off the table, but that's his next kind of go-to when it comes to his strengths. And I wouldn't be surprised if Cognitive just, the minute it goes through that late in the draft, they just go, okay, well, if you aren't going to get rid of it, then guess what? We're going to take it.
Okay, well, they're really thinking about the bans here now. Could be one of those big assassins. They're just going to look to remove an assassin, considering there's already a strong warrior and a strong support. Would you be worried about Sonya in this situation?
Yeah, there's going to be the Jaina. Okay, so they are going to go with Jaina for the 4-man there, and now the ban's going to be dropping here. Would I be worried about Hugh?
Oh, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, the Jaina being picked. My fault there.
Yeah, no, it's okay. What were you asking there? I forgot.
It's Cog's banned. Yep, so Cho'Gall will be actually banned out. They're really, we talked about the weirdness of Blaze.
Yeah. No, the weirdness of Blaze is definitely, they brought, like I said, they brought that to the meta. Okay, that's a little bit giving them a little bit too much credit, but they definitely made it to the point where he was very intimidating. Li Ming goes down. I think that's 100% going to be, Glaurung's going to be just going everywhere in the dog mode. I don't see them letting that go through. They are going to be looking to lock in.
Dog
there
life?
It is. Greymane there for the Glaurung now, and they're just going to have a pretty, I don't know if I'd say convincing draft, but definitely what Cognitive wants, right? They've gotten pretty much everything that they wanted so far in this draft.
All right, well, I love the Johanna, just very good with Night Take Spawn, but rotating for that form between mid and bottom, very quick at doing so, and they can leave that support as a reactionary pick for the final pickup. Team Blaze likely not going to go for a heavy support, but they do go for Tassadar.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the Tassadar. I'd like to see them pair with a melee. Most likely going to be Sonya in this type of situation, but Blaze, again, they like to catch us off. What do we see? Is it going to be like maybe an Illidan, Artanis? I have no idea. I would actually... it's going to be the Illidan. They do lock it in. It's a small map, so I think it's going to be a little bit risky. What I'm most interested in when it comes to that Illidan pick is what lane they're going to decide to put him in. Typically, it's going to be in that 1v1, but I don't think he does too hot into that self-sustaining Thrall. As long as... I think it's a little bit of a skill matchup, but as long as Thrall makes sure he saves his E for the invasion, I think he's going to be all right there. And then Uther's going to be locked in. Great pairing there with the majority of the heroes. But this, Jake, is going, like I said, this is going to be the start of the interesting drafts here. This best of 3 is going to be a great shot.
The reason why you're seeing Illidan in this situation, we'll get to Uther in a minute, but really Illidan, he's got the self-sustain with his trait. Then you put Leeching Plasma from Tassadar on him, so he gets a lot of more self-heal. And then Rhaegar, that's the big harmonious lineup, is Rhaegar diving in with Illidan, giving him that lightning shield. They can both have the lightning shields, and Illidan sticks to targets better than any other hero in the game.
No, and this is, honestly, it's a perfect situation. You have Jaina to be able to slow, you have Muradin to help catch up a little bit there, and then you have Tassadar to help him out, as you said, and then Rhaegar's bonus damage post-16 is colossal.
Good. Yeah.
The reason, guys, that I'm kind of harping on whether or not Illidan is good on this map is not only the 1-4 laning situation and that he might struggle in that part of the game, but also it gets into a situation where Illidan only thrives in places where the team has a long amount of distance to get to safety. Right? Because he needs to chase for long periods of time. He has no burst. He's very much like a, you isolate and I chase you forever and you can't get back and you're dead. But that's the problem with kind of these smaller maps. That safety zone is far, far closer. So if they choose fights where forts are already up, it's going to be very hard for them to walk away win with this kind of comp from Blaze. It's definitely not an uncommon composition, but not one you see always on this kind of small map.
More like the Cursed Hollow, the Garden of Terror.
Absolutely. I mean, Battlefield of Eternity, even though maybe not necessarily the greatest example, but still a large amount of distance for safety. Again, that map kind of a little bit of a 1-4, so it's questionable as well there. But yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see how well this plays out. I think a lot of it's going to come down to not only the Illidan, but also the cleanses here. But here we go. We're going to see Iacona for Cognitive will be playing the Uther. Chthon on Thrall. Glaurung is going to be playing that Greymane. Faye is going to be on the Falstad, and Caterpillar will be rounding out with Johanna.
And on the side of Team Blaze, we've actually got Illidan being played for the first time today by Cladius. Huge on Rhaegar. Rafflecopter will be representing Jaina Battery on Muradin for that Warrior in DXN, the half support of Tassadar. A very, very diverse game. We're jumping right on into it. Game number 1 between Cognitive and Team Blaze.
Absolutely. And like I was talking about, a lot of the questionability comes down to, like, or not questionability, but questions that I have about this composition is where this Illidan is going to be going, Jake. Like I said, traditionally he does kind of play in the upper half of the map, but it is not necessarily the easiest and safest lane against one of those really dominant heroes like Thrall.
10 seconds.
Right? I mean, that's really the one big main laner. Now, sure, Tassadar could do fine if they opt to put Tassadar up there, but Tassadar is also super valuable for Oracle and just getting eyes on as you're doing that 4-man between mid and bottom. So it'll be interesting to see how it is. Wow, the vote 75% in favor of Blaze there on Twitter. Very interesting.
I mean, got to give credit to the creativity, and you see in the upper half already, Illidan's going to be kind of posturing up there. Nothing too crazy when it comes to the level 1s here overall, though. Honestly, I don't think there's a little bit of variance almost anywhere. Greymane is not going to be taking the Perfect Aim, I believe is the name of the talent. The level 1 mana reduction in range. I prefer the Wolfheart, which he does. Glaring decides to go with there, so I definitely like that out of him. And again, the early rotations from that Johanna already getting the start in the upper lane, though. Cognitive, or Chthon, excuse me, is already getting a little bit of a pick there in that 2v1.
Yeah, Gladius gonna get a very early kill in this game. Only 40 seconds in, forcing Falsa to fly to top to make sure they collect that soak in the top lane. Early start here, you know, picking off that Thrall. Nice start, but is it enough to really edge them out forward?
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where you really see the fact that essentially what Cognitive did was a very predictable move, sending the Thrall to the top lane, and it didn't calculate that in the 1-4 that there actually weren't 4 people down there on the bottom half of the map for Blaze, and they just play the safe game and get a free pick, which is really what they kind of need with their style of compositions. Remember, for every fort that's going to fall in favor of Blaze, it definitely increases the strength of the composition for Blaze, not only for the XP, obviously, but that distance is absolutely crucial on the success of Illidan.
Okay, well, top shrine being controlled here right now on the side of Cognitive. We do see Illidan will go up to contest. Now, Thrall will win in most 1v1 situations, but Coffin just opting to stay in lane for the moment as Glaurung is around the corner.
Yeah, and we see a little bit of a breakup here in the 4-1. Jaina rotating the upper half of the map, but Glaurung's going to try and make something happen there. Doesn't look like he's going to risk anything here. I don't blame him. Honestly, I feel like the composition definitely scales to the mid to later half of the game, or at least until level 10 is hit for both teams, kind of. Illidan doesn't do too well, again, until he gets his ultimate or in those longer team fights. So a lot of this, I think you're going to see just a little bit of dance here and there, really. Not too many teams willing to take a fight unless they're really out of position.
Okay, a nice rotation here from Cattle, working for the body blocks, but of course the additional mobility on that wolf form warrants Rhaegar to just be able to walk away. Level 4 reach for both teams here, and Coffin also getting pressured once again by this duo, Illidan and Jaina.
Yeah, and you see actually Lingering Chill is going to be picked up by Jaina at level 1 there to increase the duration of the slow, but she ends up going with the Blizzard to the later half, not going specking into that Q. Interesting choice there from her. Amplified healing on the JoJo, so not going a full condemn-oriented build. I mean, great pickup for there. It's more of a situational thing in the 4-man rotation here. This might be an early DK here for Blaze, but the minions getting a little bit of the deny there, and they do end up capturing the shrines, Jake.
Yeah, Gillian Cocktail was also critical in that situation just to make sure that it interrupted before that first channel, so good on them in interrupting that before it's fully captured, and actually we have the full swap, but we do see both battery controlling bottom, and we have Claudius there in the top lane capturing the top shrine, so it's just going to swap back on over once again.
Yeah, it's just this dance around the map again. I feel like neither of these teams really do want to commit to a team fight until they hit at least 10. I don't think that Cog should be losing this early game as hard as they are, but really good engage there in the early half of the map. But Glaurung maybe overextending a little bit there. Jaina slow, really getting high amount of pressure onto them, and you see in this type of situation, Blade walks away with all about half health there, definitely winning that little bit of skirmish there on the side of Cognitive.
Multiple players actually using their Hearthstone to go back to base just to refuel their tanks and get ready for a fight.
That means more on this map than it does on every other one. That lack of pressure, those 2 people out of the lanes there is going to really lead to them losing a little bit of the shrines and make them possibly a little bit desperate. Unlike every other map, constant lane pressure is absolutely crucial here in this game, and it only takes a couple small wins like that, Jake, and you get a DK.
Yeah, but Claudius just standing strong, not fearing Coffin luck,
but
and he's flipping on in. We Raffle up, has the Cold, the Blizzard landed perfectly, denying him any chance of getting out, and a nice pickup on Coffin once again.
Yeah, this is a really good decision-making coming out from Blaze. They understand that they can't win the 1-4 through bottom and mid because they just don't have the wave clear to keep up with that situation, so instead of just banging their head into Cognitive over and over again and losing it, they say, okay, well then we're going to capitalize in the upper lane, and if Thrall isn't safe, that they're going to be essentially getting pick after pick, and that's 2 in a row, exactly what they need with their comp here.
Okay, so Illidan becomes much more of an issue now that he has first aid. He can sustain much longer in fights. We've got the double shield talents there for Tassadar and Glaurung gonna get picked off here. The rotations left and right from Raffle have been successful, but has he overextended? False barrel rolls in, so Fate does not have that for the retreat. Will go down, and this could actually be 3 heroes down with Claudius picking up the kill along with Yuge on Rhaegar.
That's honestly huge for their composition. I definitely think that the early game with that Illidan seeing success is gonna be really terrifying to be kind of a tell for how this game might go past this point. They don't have too many tools to directly work into killing the Illidan for the most part. Greymane doesn't do that well at some extent. Falstad does well as long as he times his cooldown. And they don't have a large amount of CC to deal with them. So this early DK, right, it's going to lead towards those front walls again, removing a little bit of the safety when it comes to the Illidan into the later half of the game. So
that's true.
I'm really impressed with Blaze so far. I feel like they've played this composition almost perfect to what they wanted.
Yeah, really, really great start. I mean, just the rotations from Raffle to the top lane has been paying dividends in this game. And we do see they successfully hold the mid lane, but with that tower low, we do see the Dragon still has a full 30 seconds. So you don't want to waste its health bar. You don't just want to dive into the towers, get the soak, and get the extra presence in the other lanes.
Yeah, they aren't applying the tri-lane to the maximum gap between the two. For instance, putting Blaze, sending their tri-lane to the bottom half while the DK pushes in the upper one. But again, they're still gaining a large amount of value out of this. So they're definitely doing really good decision-making here out of the team.
Glaurung is way out of position, going to get blown up here as he was trying to pressure that bottom wall. The heals are there, but not nearly enough. The Dragon has expired, and we do see Tassadar has backed away, but not before eliminating 2 towers. And now Blaze has level 10 before Cognitive even has level 9.
Yeah, it's an entire level advantage here. So what you're going to see out of Blaze is them maximize the value of pushing this front wall here. They know their opponents can't respond. I personally would like to see them take the whole fort. The main reason for that is because it's in a lane that's not only the most valuable lane, which we touched on a little bit because of the shrine, but then also because they need those forts, those structures down as much as possible. The XP honestly doesn't matter to me. I think more than anything, the distance to safety is crucial when it comes to the team fights and the side of Blaze. Like, yes, they have a level lead, but if they do not get the fights in the areas that they need, they're essentially going to burn way too many cooldowns and not walk away with a big enough win.
Well, I like the fact that they're flexing one of those strengths of Illidan. He is one of the most efficient heroes in the entire game when it comes to getting mercenary camps. So he's soloing that bottom forward camp there, the Bruiser camp, and that's going to give them a lot of presence in the bottom as the Giants were already picked up. The timing just about perfect here as they can look to really escort this bottom lane.
Yeah, and we see Glaurung now going to be paired. Probably, most likely, we haven't seen Uther's level 10 there, going to be with a Divine Shield, and that's going to be crucial to see how aggressive he gets. But this 4-man rotation, the Knights and the Giants on the, top lane, excuse me, sorry, I didn't see that, and he ends up getting a massive pick there. Gus coming out on the bottom half of the map, Jake, and this is getting rough here when it comes on the side of Cognitive. I don't know how I feel this game is going to be playing out for them if this game keeps going at this pace. Yes, they are getting a couple of picks, but it seems like for the majority of the rotations and everything else, they are struggling.
Yeah, they're full level down, but they did force Illidan up to that top lane to make sure they got the soak. A little experience was lost. Glaurung taking so much damage, he's going down once again, and that's just one of the big risks with Greymane. They were even playing with his corpse there, ragdolling it around.
Oh, yeah, and Illidan trying to get a little bit of dive here. Keep in mind, he's a great dive.
Man. Yeah, with the first aid being popped, the heals there, forcing out a Sundering is big enough, and Metamorphosis and Ancestral both connecting. Claudius, the Dwarf Toss, actually juking that big Mighty Gust that came up from Falstad. So is Muradin overextending? He doesn't have Dwarf Toss again, has to use Avatar, but Claudius actually takes the wall down to try to give him some space. We see the shield's going to come out from Tassadar, and they manage to disengage.
To keep in mind how powerful this style of composition that Blazes kind of ran, imagine any other comp other than an Illidan comp diving as aggressively as you just saw there, and then walking be like, you know what, we're fine, guys, don't worry about it. That was very impressive there. It was a 4 vs 5, but still, the amount of ultimates and heroics used from both sides. It's just crazy how successful that composition can be when used properly.
Glaurung needs to be so careful. I mean, the additional damage done from the towers, since they improved that damage by 50%, is really quite scary seeing heroes dive in like that. I mean, that's why Illidan was just barely able to survive with that Ancestral Metamorphosis.
Yeah, and I just really fearful as this game keeps playing out. There hasn't been too many structures on the side of Blaze, so Illidan isn't gaining maximum value yet. And the spike is going to get a little bit better here when it comes to the later half of the game because of the poke coming out from Greymane. But on the bottom lane, Cognitive getting a little bit aggressive. One thing that I do want to note, though, is the rotations from Blaze have been far better than Cognitive. The picks right now are 7-1. Wow. That's how many times they've caught Cognitive out of position. Yes, they don't have that big of an XP lead to talk about, but if that happens in the late game, that could be a DK and lead to a game here, Jake.
Yeah, and Earth Shield is just such a big talent, too, for Illidan, but a big engage there on Battery, once again forcing him to dwarf toss back. Avatar just about off cooldown after that Divine Shield coming off as well, so everything's just about ready for a fight, and that's why we see Battery getting aggressive, but the rotation here a little bit quicker on the side of Cognitive. We have the rotation from Yuge dropping down that totem to try to slow down Johanna. Big force ball going out, and that's going to force out the Divine Shield, which just came off cooldown for Iacona.
Yeah, that was actually a really big force out of them, especially considering the fact that there was a 4 versus 3 in that type of situation. The rotation from Thrall being a little bit slow here. Now capitalizing, Blaze having both the shrines. It's going to be interesting to see how they take these rotations. Going to actually try to get the cap there. Going to be delayed as best as possible there and rotating 2 people up. Keep in mind, Falstad is capturing on top, but they're going to get the DK.
Yeah.
Blaze making very big plays here and out-rotating Cognitive on all, like, at every point of the game.
Right, with no D-Shield, I mean, trying to contest that is just so scary because Illidan can't afford to, or excuse me, Greyman can't afford to go as ham as he would like to. The punt goes out, actually interrupting that Sundering before it can get cast. Huge play there by the Dragon Knight.
Yeah, no, that was a colossal play there. And now they're in a situation where they haven't been able to get too many structures. Illidan is sieging on top again, using that split push of the DK, trying to maximize his value up on the upper half of the map.
Oh, man.
And I just really would like to see a couple of these forts fall because I really am afraid of Cognitive, Team Blaze if they do make it to the later half of the game and the forts are down. Mix that with Rhaegar, Illidan, Tassadar. It's just one scary composition.
Oh, wow. Well, Clanny is starting to turn things around onto Glaurung, who just does have that disengage just about now. There he goes. The Mighty is used as well, but the Metamorphosis going forward, working well against Clanny. The Ancestral not going to be there in time. Oh, my goodness. It does connect, and he is still standing. They can look to re-engage this fight. Many heroics have been cast. What is still left? Divine Shield up in 6 seconds, and Force Wall and Water Ellie are both available.
That was amazing Ancestral there. The DK pushing mid the entire time as well, trying to get a little bit of value, but I feel like that shows the strength of Illidan, right? All it takes is that little bit of a half second of you not perfectly focusing him, and he will survive situations. And now these structures slowly falling down in the mid lane, these distance that he can run away from again is just so crippling here. Falls is going to fly to the mid lane, get stunned out a little bit, Jake. This is a nice little skirmish here for Cognitive.
Yeah, and Claudius realizes he cannot get this mercenary camp. He needs to go up to his allies. Yuge is getting very low. The shield from Tassadar barely keeping him alive. Battery with the great zoning, and Illidan does not fully show himself. He doesn't commit to the fight. They're able to back away.
Yeah, without the aggressive flight from Falstad and leading to a Gus, and without Sunder, essentially the composition coming up from Cognitive has 0 engage, right? And that showed right there. That's a situation where they wanted to try and capitalize on the misplay, the isolation of the Illidan there over the Giants, but they ended up not being able to capitalize, and I feel like that's going to be kind of the story of this game. It's if Illidan gets to choose the fights that he wants, you are never going to have a good time.
Right.
I don't care what map it's on, especially when he has the lead that he has right now, Jake. I don't know if the spike that Greyman's going to hit here at that 16 is going to be enough to justify the situation they put themselves in.
Well, level 16 talents, we do see Tassadar going for the full-on Prescience Dimensional Warp style. Stone form there for Muradin, super sustain, and this is when the Lightning Shield on Illidan really starts to rack up the big numbers. We see Stone Skin for Illidan, Mega Sustain for that hero, and when he sticks to a target, he's just going to start shredding through their health bar even more efficiently.
Yeah, and here you see the posture up with the 16 tier advantage. They don't have the best siege. That's actually the biggest downside to Illidan, is he legitimately has no ability to get on the fort unless it's about to die and force the fight here. So unless they have somebody stay out and poke it down, they're just going to back out, not be able to do too much. But they are in a positional advantage here because of the DK pushing. Site advantage on the upper lane there. You see the Knights pushing in favor of Cognitive. They will be able to see the rotations here, but the DK is on the minds of both of these teams here, Jake. And the force wall.
Oh, beautiful force wall onto Cattle. The Gust to disengage, and Sundering completely whiffs, barely connecting on Claudius. They could look for the re-engage here. That is a huge cooldown that was just spent. Both Blessed Shield and Sundering down for the count, but the disengage should be successful.
Yeah, I think if that fort was dead, that would have been led to a bigger fight there, but the teams kind of got a little bit afraid and realized, hey guys, we did walk away in a winning situation. We don't really need to force too hard here. It's risky to dive. Let's just back out and get a DK instead, and that's exactly what you see. Yuge moving to the bottom half of the map, Illidan on the upper, but this might be a risky position here for the Jaina.
Yeah.
The rotations, they need to wait for Illidan.
Oh, okay, man. Very close, very close. Cognitive cutting in close there, but they are just about level 16, so they've stalled long enough. They've bought enough time for them to get on an even talent footing, and this is when that concentrated blast really starts to shred through your opponents, and you get that nice micro stun on Falstad.
This is a huge advantage for Blaze. Fighting on the shrine that they need on Dragonshire is one of the biggest advantages that you can get. Now forcing Falstad to fight with the global there, you see him moving into the upper half of the map. They might be able to force a 5 vs 4 on mid. If they do, this could be risky. That fort is now down. There you go.
All right, they are pushing in. Metamorphosis has been cast, and Coffin is the target that they're going for. Water Ellie trying to lock someone down, but Glaurung should have disengaged in about 1 second, actually using that swipe to just close the gap that he needs to get back there.
Yeah, that took 1 Q, almost like took 50% of Claudius's HP there on the Illidan coming up from the Gray main. Now that he's hit that 16 spike, he is terrifying to deal with. They do have, most likely going to have the healing to be able to deal with that. Keep in mind, Rhaegar not taking any of the Tidal Waves talents, won't be able to totally maximize his spread healing when it comes to that poke, but he is going to complement the Illidan very, very well here. The engage, though, on the bottom half, Cog trying to rotate, and really, I'm surprised neither of these teams have been trying to abuse Merc still a lot of their advantage. It feels like they've kind of been a little passive when it comes to them, especially Blaze. With their lack of siege, I feel like they would be trying to split push with them rather than pushing with them on this map.
Well, it looks like Clan is just keeping his presence in the top lane to try to maximize the soak and remove that top 4 if at all possible, as there is no one there on the side of Cognitive in the top, but Cog gets himself an early aggressive giant camp here, so that is a small victory on both sides of the map. Blaze still controlling that full level lead, and with this fort going down, will push them forward a little bit more.
Yeah, and they're going to go trade fort for fort here, and in theory, Cognitive gains a little bit of an advantage here, but I just still like the fact that Illidan's got more room to play now. He's got 1 fort left before he can dance around his opponents as best as he possibly can here. He's going to make the rotation, and again, Blaze is fighting on a shrine they need. This is very risky when it comes to Cognitive. It increases the chances of getting a DK exponentially if they win the fight.
Okay, Illidan is here. Claudius going to look for his flank target, going in early with that. Still has Metamorphosis available to cast, and there it goes. Connecting 2 targets, but the Gust to disengage. Cattle pulling in 1 target, the re-engage in a beautiful force while locking Cattle in. The Sundering, not quite enough, but the Hammer of Justice going to buy some time, and Central has been cast, but there goes Uther diving in. He's going to get Johanna. He's looking for Glaurung, but this keep is slowing him down. Coffin Luck will actually get away as well, so a good disengage for the 3, but it's still a 2-for-0 in favor of Blaze.
That's a 2-level lead now, and a DK going to be going in favor of Blaze, and most likely they're going to be prioritizing the bottom lane with this DK again because it's the most valuable lane. For those who don't know why it is the most valuable lane, it's largely because, we see a little bit of skirmish on the bottom half of the map. Chthon getting caught out and blown up there by the Jaina. Really well done inside. That is huge. That death timer, they went from a 20-second advantage to now a 45-second advantage with this DK. But again, they're going to get level 20. They're going to force the keep as best as they possibly can. They don't have the healing to deal with battery right now, but between the passive and Rhaegar, they're going to wait it out. This is a free keep, and if they get a couple of picks, they might be able to get a kill here, or a game here. It's risky, but it is something to think about.
I mean, the Dragon's got 52 seconds and almost all of its health. I see no reason to not pressure this. 20 seconds before Thrall is up, and that is their big heavy engage. Illidan getting pulled in. The Storm Shield has been cast with that level 20, and the punt. Iacona secluded by himself. Stormbolt in, but they're focusing on the keep. Shields have been removed. Metamorphosis being cast. Dread, can they defend this? I don't think so. 50% left on the core, and GG Team Blaze with a dominant game number 1.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of that came down to, without a doubt, the success of that game was the fact that they identified they could not win the 1-4, and instead of banging their head into Cognitive over and over again between that mid and bot lane, they said, okay, guess what? We have a top lane too. He might not be winning the top lane, but guess what? We're going to take advantage of your Thrall overextending, not getting a little bit too cocky up in that lane, and that punishment just led to staggered death after staggered death to the point where Cognitive essentially got to the point where they had no opportunity to answer there, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the interrupt there with the punt from the Dragon Knight. This is Claudius just barely getting out. The focus was a little late as the Ancestral clutches out from you. Beautiful play there on Rhaegar all game long, and just this Illidan Rhaegar wrecking and just bringing the pain to their opponents.
It's one of those things that those 3 together are very, very powerful tool. And it's like I said, it's not impossible to see Illidan on these smaller maps. It's just that you need to make sure that you don't fall too far behind before those forts start to fall. And the minute that you see that, Illidan is great on the core. He's actually one of the best heroes to tank it. I think I don't know exactly what level.
Self-sustain, yeah.
I'm gonna say like level at latest 20, he can actually just solo the core. He's like one of the few heroes in the game that can just like, oh, you have a core? Like, I don't care.
Pop evasion.
I legitimately have had a game where I told Illidan to backdoor the core and we won the game because of it. It was just, it's an amazing tool, and that got to the point where they just won with the picks on the top lane and get themselves a big enough lead that they honestly out-rotated Cog on every level that game. It was very impressive play.
Well, Illidan didn't die once in game number 1, but game number 2 will be on Blackheart's Bay. We have seen it a total of 1 time today, I believe.
Yeah. We've seen it 1 time. It was between Naventic, I believe, was the one that
round
pulled
1?
it out. Yeah, no. It was round 2, or the second Naventic game 2, I believe, or game 1 was going to be on Blackheart's Bay.
Yes. All right, well, you know, obviously Blackheart's Bay, a very tall battleground. We see a lot of Falstad play. Once in a while, you'll see Abathur busted out on that map. So it'll be very interesting to see how these teams decide to go for it. But Cognitive, you can see they're feeling the pressure.
I not only do I feel like they're feeling the pressure, they just lost to an Illidan on a small map. And what that does, I think, for Blaze is it really opens up the draft for these next couple of games, right? We're going to be in a situation to where if map is Blackheart's Bay. Have you ever tried to run away from an Illidan while it turned in? That distance? Remember that distance I was talking about?
Oh, yeah, where Blackheart is?
Yeah,
like, there's
so much room, right?
Good luck getting home, man.
Yeah,
Unless you...
Yeah, it's a situation where it's like, it's not even like whether or not they're going to pick Illidan. Now you have Illidan sitting in the back of the mind of Cognitive for every draft past this point. So it's like on those bigger maps where he becomes more and more excelled, you're just like, everybody's like, whoa, we might have to do Illidan. And they'll maybe get a throwaway ban, which leads to a great comp coming on the side of Blaze.
So instead of a throwaway ban, is it enough to just ban Rhaegar, or is that not enough?
Rhaegar is definitely the step in the right direction. He is part of the reason Illidan becomes so empowered. Like, Illidan is a decent hero on his own, but he definitely needs a little love, a little help from his friends, you know, before he can become that kind of god that we saw him evolve into in the last game.
Yeah, some of the other supports that we've seen kind of enable Illidan be a strong hero would be, we've seen Brightwing with Tassadar. We've seen lone Tassadar Illidan looks a little scary sometimes when it happens.
Yeah, it's definitely a bold step there, and but it is a situation to where I agree with you. And then also the Brightwing with the TP is one, and then Uther is another one that
Divine
we see.
Shield, of course. That's the classic, really.
Yeah, no, he definitely is the classic there. So it's going to be interesting to see how this draft pulls out. One thing I do like to see from Cognitive a lot when it comes to this type of games is they really like to prioritize kind of global heroes when it comes to Blackheart's Bay. It's something they really like to do. We were talking about that when it came to Ventic, right, with the Abathur potential split pushing. Not so much him, but Brightwing could split push. You're going to false step split push. I think that's kind of their go-to when it comes to these maps, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them put heavy prioritization of those heroes, especially because Brightwing can deal with the Illidan that they might be a little bit afraid of.
Poly is a great response to it. It really is. I mean, as he dives in, you just polymorph the hero and you look to burn him.
You know what else is a great response? Zeratul, which they banned out last game. Zeratul is one of the better heroes against him as long as you can stop him from getting into the void.
That's Glaurung's jam.
Yeah.
If Glaurung can get Zeratul, he will absolutely go for it, but I wouldn't be too surprised if Team Blaze did end up banning him out. The immediate Rhaegar ban from Cognitive, no surprise there. Is Blaze truly worried about the Zeratul of Cognitive?
I think they are. I think they'll ban it out.
I mean, he's earned the respect of everyone with his Zeratul.
I agree with you, but I think more than anything is Blaze is kind of, I think that last game, a lot of it came down to expecting them to have that Zeratul be a hot topic and then looking to work the Illidan. And it might be a situation where they're kind of on a streak right now with that Illidan, right? Getting that one game in, and their confidence being on a bigger map can only help it. Removing Zeratul, and then just look to get another Illidan comp wherever they can, just this time without the Rhaegar.
Glaurung is just sitting there saying, please don't ban Zeratul, please don't ban Zeratul, please don't ban Zeratul, because they'll first pick him. Even on this map, when you could get Zagara, do you think it's worth first picking Zeratul?
I think if the teams really hold on to it, which I know that both of these teams definitely prioritize it, it is worth the risk. There's the ban. So I wouldn't be surprised to see either Zagara or Falstad. There's the Zagara going to be locked in there. The response from Blaze, I think this is going to be... You think so?
Well, Thrall's just to counter in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and with the ban of the melee, I think it's something...
And then the global on Falstad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think they could be priority picks, but again, Blaze is one of those teams I don't feel confident in saying, I think I know what they're going to do. Like, you could tell me they picked Cho'Gall here, and I'd be like, yeah, they probably planned that. They knew they wanted that. They do hover the Thrall, or lock in the Thrall there, and you might be right. Solid Jake nailing it right here with the Thrall pickup is going to be the Falstad.
Absorbing all that dread naughty knowledge.
Slowly but surely he is taking it in there. But what is the response from Cognitive here when it comes to the remainder of their draft? I don't honestly know. I feel like that game one kind of caught them so much off guard with their game plan that I don't think the traditional Cog is what we're going to see for the remainder of the series. I know if I lost Illidan on that map, I would definitely be like, guys, we might need to rethink our draft.
So, one thing that's really interesting is they've recently changed Lamb to the Slaughter on Butcher, and Butcher is a very uncommon hero, but you think about the landscape on this map and those big, long, spots where there's no safe place, Butcher thrives in those scenarios when it comes to Lamb as well.
Especially with the changes to it recently.
Yeah,
I mean,
for cleanse, to pull him back in?
Yeah, no, it's one of those, you can't even pre-cleanse.
Right,
it would
it's
just
impossible.
like, it's just the minute it hooks on, it's like, doesn't matter, it's going to pull you back, and it is a great tool there, and I mean, you bring it up, I wouldn't be surprised. There you go, nailing it. Falsa is going to be locked in on the side of Blaze.
Well, Cog, we'll see what they're looking to do, because they might be, like you said, just throwing caution to the wind and doing something crazy in this draft.
Obviously, those big priority warriors are still very good. I mean, we do see ETC paired with Zagara fairly often. We haven't seen as much ETC today as I'm used to.
Greymane,
Wow,
the go-to
early.
for COG everywhere here. I mean, I think that's a staple now, kind of for Glaurung in the play there. Surprised it made it this, or they picked it this early in the draft. Definitely adapting a little bit to what they think he's needed for Glaurung. But what are they going to pair it with? This follow-up here, are they going to be worried more about like a Tassadar? Are they going to be worried about having a global to kind of deal with the fall stat? Is like Brightwing something they want to be looking to pick up here?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Both of these teams, I feel like, are kind of building like their own little style of composition and what they want to see when it comes to this game. I know personally, I would have liked to see like a Sonya in that pickup. I really think she's really strong on this map overall. We saw Zuna collecting all those coins, right? Just national bank of Sonya and then eventually just turning it in. It's crazy what those junglers can be. Greymane's going to be filling it here, but then JoJo's going to be locked in.
Well, Joe's very good at being that bank, like you said, very good for holding the gems. I mean, yes, Zuna was doing it on Sonya earlier today, but Johanna's very safe for that, and the blinds against these double auto attack heroes is quite efficient. Well, Team Blaze now has the next ban. We are going into the second ban phase. Are they really worried about Uther? They've already, we know that Rengar's not an option. They could opt to ban Uther here if they think that Glaurung might need that get out of jail free card with Divine Shield.
Yeah, no, Divine Shield works really great. Any of those burst-oriented healers with the Greymane make him enabled, and they ban the Jaina. I love that ban. It works really well with Greymane being able to chase everybody down.
True.
They do need kind of a mage on their comp, and it takes away from the early game scaling. Cognitive right now has a very late game composition, right? And the Jaina is a beautiful kind of linear scaling through the entire game there, so that ban's really nice. Honestly, what I'm questioning is Blaze and the Cho'Gall right now. Is it something that they're wanting? Is it something they're even kind of considering at this point? Like I said, that's kind of been the staple of like everybody's been so terrified of Blaze's Cho'Gall. Is it going to be warranting another ban here? And if it doesn't, is it going to be what they go to here?
I mean, Cho'Gall's definitely kind of one of the weirder picks for this map in particular.
I agree.
But it's definitely always on the table, right? I mean, they might just be saying it's not worth it. But I'd almost go as far to say if this map was picked by Cognitive, that they picked this because of the threat that Cho'Gall presents on the side of Blaze.
Yeah, quite possibly. And they're going a little bit deep here, thinking it out. They ban out the Brightwing. They're worried about that double global here.
Yeah.
So, Blaze, what is your answer here? Their next response is whether or not they go with the Cho'Gall or not. They're going to be locking in probably a really good tank, most likely going to be ETC or Murden.
Yeah.
Past that point, they do have their melee. They have a great sustained DPS, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a Li Ming if they don't go that route. But they go Lunara.
Well, Lunara's, when they ban out Jaina, they're going to go for Lunara for that kind of, ranged presence, and also has a good bit of control for the slows. You talked about the power of Greymane when he's diving in, and if Lunara can kind of help control that hero, that could be a big, edge in some of these fights.
Absolutely. It definitely could, and I think, and then Karzim going to be locked in there. I would like to see Li Ming if I was on Cognitive side. I think that they need to mage kind of when it comes to their DPS. I think there she is. She's going to be locked in for them. I really like that pickup on their half, and they're going to now pick up their healer, going with Uther to help that D-shield onto the Greymane like you were talking about earlier. The final pickup here, ETC, most likely. I feel like it's a pretty standard pickup on their front.
Or Murden.
Murden's a go-to as well.
I like
Stitches,
Murden versus Greymane in particular, just because reverberation if you opt to go that route.
Yeah, it works a little bit well there. I do agree with you there. I just feel like ETC overall, I consider him to be a stronger tank in general.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of hard to get a good mosh pit against a good Johanna player if she uses her Iron Skin properly, so, or Condemn even. So the lack, there it is. The Chen I've been talking about. This is not the place I thought it was going to come out, but it did. They're going to lock in the Chen. How do you feel about this, Jake?
Man, well, so Chen has been out of the meta for quite a while, but he's starting to get a little bit more prioritization due to the less stun-centric meta. So when you look at this team, what are their stuns? They've got Maw, they've got Hammer of Justice, which Uther has to walk way up to Chen to do that, and then they've got Condemn and Blessed Shield, and that's not really that scary. Chen has such a good presence in some of these fights. It's just, I don't know if they have enough of a frontline sustain for him.
What ultimate do you take if you're Chen?
Not Barrel.
Not Barrel?
It's Storm Earth and Fire. Storm Earth and Fire gives him such continuous presence in the battle.
I'm voting Barrel.
Really?
I want a Barrel.
Well, so
it's kind of a little bit of like that poke-oriented style play with. So Greymane's gonna move it, and he's gonna try and be really hyphy on your backline. The minute that happens, just go. Okay, well, you can be really trying to kill my deer in the backline and kill Lunara, and all I'm gonna do is just go Barrel Boys, and then take out the rest of your team and isolate them as best as I possibly can. Shout out to Barrel Boys, really. I mean, I just feel like that's going to be the style of play. It might not be the go-to, and like I said, I didn't expect Cho'Gall to be on this, or excuse me, Chen to be on this map by any means, but here we go. We're going to move on to Blackheart's Bay here. Cognitive is going to be rocking. Iacona is going to be playing that Uther. Kathon Luck is going to be at the Zagara. Glorong once more going to be on the Grey Main. Faye will be playing that Li Ming, and Caterpillar rounding out with Jojo.
And Team Blaze currently up 1-0 with Claudius playing as Thrall, Yuge on Karazim, Rufflecopter playing Falstad, Battery on Chen, and DXN on Lunara. This is game 2 on Blackheart's Bay between Cognitive and Team Blaze, and we're hopping on into it.
And right out the gates, things to look at is the higher prioritization of the wave clear on the top lane, largely because, for those who don't know, the chests are going to spawn at 50 seconds. And if you manage to clear that top wave as fast as you possibly can, it will allow you to get essentially a man advantage or an XP advantage over your opponents when it comes to the top chest. The lack of globals that exist other than Falstad, usually after the first chest is captured, you fly really fast to the bottom half and help contest there. So definitely the chest advantage, depending on the wave clear, kind of goes in favor of Blaze just because of that global.
Somewhere Zoya is singing the Money Pig song without you, Dreadnought.
It's got the money pig, money pig. But here they go. They do get a good dismount here. They get the site, but keep in mind this is a 4 vs 5. Chen is on the bottom half of the map.
No, he can just start chugging.
Yeah, he might start
soaking
draining
up some of these shots here in the bottom lane. I love this utility out of Battery, just starting to absorb shots from one tower at a time, continuously chugging, whilst the Zagara has to go safely around the back to contest him.
Yeah, and he has no idea where his opponent is, making really aggressive rotation there. But again, Cognitive now getting that wave clear on the upper half of the map. This is what I was talking about. I personally don't know if they're going to be able to contest this top chest here. It's going to be really interesting. The wave clear a little bit too slow. We're closing in 5 seconds left until that chest is going to spawn. I wouldn't be surprised to see Falstad just honestly fly bottom to ensure that he's going to win that, because I don't think Chen wins that matchup by any means.
Yeah, I mean, he can definitely sustain through the damage, but I don't think he can bully Zagara out, and the top chest goes completely to Cognitive. Battery working on this chest by himself, but again, Falstad could always be flying down here. But with Glaurung already in the picture, Guy kind of coming from behind as well, Battery has to back away here, taking so much damage, but not going to end up falling.
And Rufflecopter flew, yes, but he's kind of by himself at this situation. Karazim going to be rotating down now. And this is honestly, I feel like that was a rather large misplay on the half of Blaze, largely by the fact that Cognitive walks away with 9 of the coins, and they could have understood that they just weren't going to win because their wave clear was inferior on the upper half of the map, right? But instead, they decided to try and force it, get the top chest, end up losing that, and then rotating late to the bottom chest. I just feel like they could have capitalized and gotten a little bit more even with their opponents.
All right, Claudius taking a good bit of damage, Glaurung as well. But Dread, I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on the fact that they're actually utilizing Chen as that solo laner rather than Thrall, who's considered to be one of the best solo laners in the game? Sure, Chen is great at it, but I think Thrall would win the lane, where we see Battery's getting bullied pretty hard.
Oh, well, Battery's not really... he's getting bullied by quite a bit, and I do think that Chen is a great solo laner on a lot of fronts. I do think that Thrall is obviously great as well. Personally, I actually like putting Chen. I just feel like that 4-man rotation that we see on the upper half of the map, right? We talk about the 1-4 all the time. Chen brings literally nothing to the 4-man.
True.
So even though, yes, you might have a better one, but it doesn't change the fact that your 4-man would be crippled harder than the advantage you gain by sending the Thrall. So that's why you see Chen in the bottom and not the Thrall instead here, Jake. So I definitely like that call from them, but now we're going to see who we're going to be the bank here for this team. We know Glaurung is going to be picking up a lot of these coins. Notice how he leaves the coins there. Glaurung captures the camp but doesn't pick up the coins. He gives them to Uther instead, Iacona, so he can get that solo turn in. Really well done there on the side of Cognitive.
All right, well, we do see Raffle nearly able to get that bottom tower there in mid lane. A nice advantage for them. Battery continuing to try to be very aggressive in his position, but with Glau here, he needs to full-on retreat because the damage output of that Worgen is just too ferocious.
Yeah, and there's not too much going to be going down here. Blaze is getting a little bit of a harassment here, but they're losing the coin war pretty darn hard.
11-5? Yeah, that's over double in favor of Cog, and you know, this is probably why Cog brought us to this map.
Definitely, it could be the case there. And you see this kind of map is right now how this is being played. Kind of reminds me a lot of Niantic and their adventures here on this map. One person stacking a lot of the coins, prioritizing it, and then getting the early turn-in and coin advantage over your opponent.
Yeah, there's another giant camp picked up by Glaurung on Greymane. He's going to be going for the 2 coins there on the Pirates, just above that as well. And they're really starting to stack them up. Going to be looking for a turn in any moment now.
Yeah, they don't have any of the coins to be stacked high enough to where one person can turn in. Typically, that's what you want to do, right? But Glaurung ended up giving up some of the coins to Iacona. He hasn't been able to ensure that 10 coin yet. I wouldn't be surprised to see Glaurung give him one of those coins up here soon, so he can try to sneak the turn in. If you overcommit to the turn in, everybody knows, right? So you're going to try and get it to where just one person has to look to get that turn in, but now heavy amount of pressure on the bottom lane.
Yeah, Cawthon way out of position, being chased. The flying kick going in, no slow from the next barrel, and Battery is actually just going to stand there and take the roach damage.
Yeah, and that should be, just so people know, sometimes the graphic animation is
for the drink?
It's getting stalled out a little bit
so
there.
Funny,
he is definitely drinking right there, so in case you're wondering why the mysterious Chen is gaining a shield, that is the case there with the Chen. And other than that, the top chest did go in favor of Cognitive once more here. The coined wars is still 18, and look at now, Iacona did capture all the coins on himself, getting that solo turn-in that we like to see so much here on this map. And now Cognitive getting a little bit of a tempo swing in their favor, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. That should be a fort because of how much of the front wall that they ended up getting down in the laning phase here, but it's not a huge XP lead considering their opponents now have a turn-in.
All right, well, let's get a bit of a talent update. It is a full creep style out of Zagara. We saw this earlier today from KO. Full Knight Takes Pawn build out of Johanna as well. Beyond that, pretty standard stuff. Glaurung going for the same exact Greymane build as game number 1, but Li Ming mixing things up with dominance.
Yeah, I think the dominance is going to claim right to a shield-oriented build, which is going to be the teleport style build, largely because the Chen's going to be moving onto her in the backline, right? And if you leave her to go kind of that glass cannon style build, she is going to get ruined by that Chen. So I really like that heads-up play here coming up from Faye. She's been harassing these front walls as best as possible, and that's really why these turn-ins have been getting a lot of value on the side of Cognitive. They're going to be looking to try and posture up and get that advantage, but XP is almost dead even for a turn-in going to be in the favor of Cog.
All right, well, there are definitely enough coins on the side of Team Blaze, but can they find an opportunity to actually turn in? Claddy's going to finish off this Bruiser camp, get them some push into that top lane. But with Greymane and Li Ming both in that top lane already, I don't think they'll last that long.
Yeah, and it's really one of these situations where this next team fight is going to be crucial to how the rest of this game is going to go, mainly because there's going to be a large amount of coins. There's 24 coins on the map right now.
The creep spread. Man, it's just, you see, immediately they turned around when they saw it. They wanted to turn in, they're like, oh, no.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Monk's sitting there just like, don't worry, guys, I'll clear it on my own. Oh, wait. It's one of the saddest feelings of the world, but they give up the turn-in for free, even though they have 10 advantage here.
The boss is being worked on in the top lane. Cognitive has eyes on the creep spread, giving it some value. Oh, the root's going to connect on Iacona. A bit unfortunate, but do they catch wind of this? The Wisp is on its way up, but it's too little too late.
This boss is going to be effective. Yes, it will be able to proceed to take out the top wall, but it's...
Top wall's almost down already,
It is going to take out the... Yeah, you're right. The front wall is going to be down, maybe at most a fort. Honestly, this boss is not that threatening this early in the game. It was smart from Cognitive to capitalize elsewhere on the map, but they realistically didn't walk away with like, oh man, the boss is going to be game-ending. They were just min-maxing their opponents. They can't react to it. They're going to capitalize elsewhere. I feel like forcing the fight to turn in would have been a little bit better, but at least they're making something with their time.
All right, well, Cawthon taking a lot of damage, a bit far from home. The Sun Ring does come out, and that should be a dead Zagara. Maw does connect on 2, but too little, too late. Caterpillar trying to rotate around. He has a huge beam coming out there from the Li Ming, and the follow-up is on point. Thrall falls very rapidly. Yuge can end up getting blown up as well, and Falside flying in, just taking a front load of damage from Faye.
Yeah, that was really well done getting the reset there. If Faye had kept that laser on the one side, I don't know if she would have been able to secure that last kill. Now they're going to back out, look to get this turn in, and now Cognitive set themselves really, really far ahead. Good rotations there on their half, capitalizing on the misplay of Cawthon there being a little bit too far out. And that was kind of the story we saw last game, right? It was like in that upper lane, and I don't know if this is Blaze at this point trying to pick on him for that decision-making or if it's just kind of their play style, but they've done a really good job capitalizing on any over-rotation coming out from Cog.
You know, that's not something we talk about a lot in commentary, but when you pick on a player, you intentionally go out of your way to try to pick one player. You get into their hand. And obviously, back when you were a pro player, you know, that's, you know, it really messes with you.
No, absolutely, especially when you get to the later half of the game, or if you get to a best-of-3 series. I can tell you, playing against C9, I would definitely try and concentrate on picking certain players, especially if they made kind of those tendencies of getting out of position from time to time. It's something you look to do, but Claudius taking an immense amount of damage. The reset going to be in the favor of Glaurung, but the Gust coming out. isolating.
D-Shield is on point. Beautiful disengage. They're getting Glowering out of there, and they get the pick on Thrall. So that's a huge trade here in favor of Cognitive, controlling this lead with almost a full level lead.
The most intimidating part about that situation is the fact that Chthonluck and Caterpillar on the bottom half of the map there, still capping in camp, and you still end up losing somebody. That is going to be
bad, man.
Feels bad, man. But they're in a situation where they don't have enough coins to be able to get a turn in. They're just keeping up the pressure wherever they can to maximize the value of their turn in. So see, now because this fort is almost going down, once it does, their turn in will now be threatening the middle keep front wall, which is huge amount of value of XP. For those who don't know, actually the front walls for keeps are worth more than the front walls of forts by a large margin.
Yep.
And so it's something to consider when you are trying to figure out is the turn in worth it and everything else. That scaling on the fort front wall is huge.
Relentless picked up for Chen, realizing he's going to need that to get out of a lot of sticky situations. And is that static shield for Falstad? Not a very common pickup.
Not necessarily a common one, but I don't dislike it. I actually enjoy it a lot. I want to see what he decides to pair it with when it comes to a 16 tier. But overall, a lot of it's going to come down to how well the barrel is going to be used in team fights, in my opinion, and whether or not Glowering makes the smart decision-making with his engage. I think it's crucial to see how well the battery is going to get the isolation.
There's the barrel, and Glowering tries to get out of there, does successfully do so, and the barrel really doesn't get a whole lot of value whatsoever.
Yeah, no, the claw was actually to the side of the barrel, so to ensure the fact that he wasn't able to get that barrel to keep knocking him back. Falstad flying onto Li Ming here. Faye is going to be able to get out of the situation, and the skirmish down on the bottom half of the map. Cognitive is just winning on all fronts right now. They're playing very, very well.
They're dominating the gem game. 21 in their pocket, and they've gotten a whole additional turn-in on top of Team Blaze already. So we do see they're trying to interrupt this turn in. The Chain Lightning does go out. 7 did successfully go in so far, and the reset not going to be successful there for Li Ming.
I just want to say whoever walks away with a win in this fight ends up with 27 coins.
That's true.
That is huge.
You're
that
rich.
is turn-in after turn-in. Talk about money pig right there at this point. So whoever wins this tournament, it is a huge tempo swing of this game. How well this goes around here. Both these teams kind of dancing back and forth. The poke going to be sitting in favor. Oh, Rafflecopter getting a little bit out of position here. This might be bad. The Gust coming out.
Used, barely connects, and Glowering actually the end frames looks like it pushed him back a little bit. Bit of an interesting interaction there. But this full level advantage, I mean, this is a window where Team Blaze needs to take a fight before Cog has level 16. That's why they're retaining their presence here, just trying to push back that bottom lane, trying to get some XP. Raffle's going back to heal up. He can fly back into this battle when necessary, but this is a window where we do see DXN is going to get pulled in. Very low, so much damage coming up for Li Ming. The fly-in will be successful. Barrel wasted once more, just trying to buy some space. A very dire situation on the side of Blaze.
Yeah, and it's one of those, they've burnt both of their disengages. 8 seconds on Rafflecopter's Gust there, and a couple of seconds he might be popping it out, but the health bar's very low for Battery here, getting extremely aggressive considering Karzim is 7-sided without the palm there. But Cog is backing out here. They don't have the 16 spike of their poke, and that is Faye going in very aggressive.
That's gonna cost Faye a lot if she can't get out of this. No, does survive the Sundering, barely not getting the kill. 7-sided strike doing a lot of damage, and Glaurung gets the Divine Shield at the last moment. The big Mighty Gust from below, slowing down Iacona and Cattle, but Glaurung will be the only one to fall here at this rate. Raffle looking for one more auto on Iacona. Barrel rolling forward, but the heal at the last moment. The poison from that, is it enough? The well will keep Iacona up.
That was really well done, and shout out to the Lunara there. DXN did an absurd amount of damage there. You saw the minute that team fight started, it just seemed like everybody on Cognitive's health just slowly went down, down. Yeah, no, she's starting to hit her spike, right? We've been talking about all day. She kind of has that later game scaling, and when she gets to that point, you're just like, man, the amount of damage this hero is able to output is huge. And with having the disengage both from Chen and from Falstad, it allows them to wait until she gets the right kind of situation to fight. And honestly, they've been doing a little bit of questionable things in the early part of the game, but right now it shows that they know what they need to do now from this point in the game, how to take these team fights, and I wouldn't be surprised if Blaze continues this kind of tempo swing that they got after that team fight from this point on.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to really, really catch them up, and XP actually push them forward. We have those final shots going in, taking out the top fort, and the bottom fort is going to be in a dire situation as well. So suddenly Team Blaze having a commanding presence when it comes to experience in this game, and they're grabbing a lot of mercenaries and gems to boot.
Yeah, and now one thing to keep in mind, the power spike of Glaurung on that Grey Mane now is going to be huge. He has the Concentrated Flask there at 16, excuse me, and the name of that talent is going to be Concentrated Blast, and that is provides a lot of DPS for him. Also, Li Ming getting the Diamond Skin, she's going to be a lot harder to pick off here. They do secure that final turn-in. It will be threatening the bottom fort and the keep front wall, but Blaze is still in a position where they can come back in this game.
For sure, but that's, you know, a lot of those gems did get turned in, which is big there for Cog. But now they're starting to deplete some of their resources. We saw so many Merc camps picked up on both sides. yeah, it's anyone's game for sure. Very much stabilized at this point in the game. But when it comes to the mix-up, I mean, how much of a difference do you think Spell Shield's going to make? We see double Spell Shield for Karazim and Thrall, and it seems like they're just having so much more success in these fights due to the effect that has on not only the Gilne and Cocktail, but Li Ming in general.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be beneficial for them. I don't know if it's going to be enough to really kind of say that they won the game because of these Spell Shields, because Spell Shield is procced by so many spells, right? That's a little bit unfair, but with the Li Ming and the Greymane kind of poke-oriented build that they're going for here, it's definitely a smart thing to be picking up for them. They do now have the boss, and they have 19 coins, so what they're going to do here is they're going to go to turn-in, and they're going to say, okay, you either answer the boss or you answer the turn-in. This is a situation where the boss is threatening a key front wall, whereas the turn-in's only going to be threatening the bottom fort here, and a little bit of the key front wall, so Cognitive's going to back out, clear out the boss, play it a little bit safe here, and be pretty much on even footing with their opponent.
Yeah, I mean, this will give a good bit of XP, but yeah, boss is going to get, what, maybe 2 hits on this? Not even. The 1 smack on the wall, and that is it. So a great response on the side of Cognitive, but 13 out of 14 have been turned in. 1 more needed on the side of Blaze. If they don't manage to get that in time, that would be a big mistake, and Cognitive is here.
That was really greedy. No. I don't know what rotation just happened there to ensure that they didn't get the turn-in, but that was really, really greedy. And let's see if Cognitive is able to capitalize on this. Icona just took a large amount of damage. Bottom chest already secured for Cognitive, and look at Rafflecopter's flying bottom.
Oh no, this is bad. You just has to run away here. 13 gems could get turned in for free in a situation that should have been a full turn-in for Blaze.
Yeah, that's a situation where they just lost the full turn-in, they lost bottom chest, and they just, by Rafflecopter flying, lost top chest. They're in a situation where they legitimately just gave away 10 coins for free. Well, at least 5 in this type of situation by that flight there. And Cognitive capitalizing on that is absolutely crucial. If he had flown out of sight and not showed in the lane, it would have been a little bit different because nobody would have known, but they definitely showed that. And Rafflecopter now sending his team possibly behind. Glaurung getting a little bit high feet.
Yeah, okay, the hammering going out, connecting on 3. The huge damage coming up from Lunara as well. And the Gust to try to disengage and buy some space there for Battery to turn in. Still has a long channel on that, only halfway through. The ward in the back, and the interruption is there. Divine Shield keeping Glaurung alive. He's chunking through Falstad and successfully picks up the kill. Barrel pushing back the Johanna, but not really quite enough. And without Falstad, they just don't have enough. The Maw just on the 1 target, just for the secure of the kill. And they condemn to pull him in. And that's Karazim going down, and a huge win for Cognitive.
And look at the health bars. Lunara just putting that poison everywhere that she possibly can. Now this turn-in for Cognitive is going to lock in them. This will be mid-keep for free, and then it will be pressuring the upper top keep front wall. It will only get a little bit of that, not securing anymore, but now there will be catapults, as I said, pushing in the mid lane. Notice how everywhere else they're spreading to get the coins. Glaurung now is helping, trying to get that camp. You see Jojo backing out, getting the Pirates. Uther on the upper half, getting Pirates up there. All they are doing right now is denying coins over their opponents. Cognitive is in a situation where, because catapults are pushing in the mid lane, and they have this much of an XP lead and the coin advantage over their opponents. Keep in mind, only 6 coins sitting in favor of Blaze, enough to confirm a turn-in for them, though. They're going to get 20, and then either force a 20 versus 19 fight or get a turn-in for free, which is going to threaten another keep, Jake.
Yeah, this is rough. Level 20 is around the corner, like you said. Team Blaze not too far away from 20 themselves, so when it comes to experience, they've done a great job keeping up to pace with Cognitive, but structurally, that's the name of the game, and they are quite far behind, especially with 13 more coins going in already.
Yeah, and they didn't even get 20 to do this. They just know that their opponents are not going to be able to defend this at all. Blaze is not even kind of moving around this turn-in at all. They don't care. They know their opponents don't have it, and they aren't going to force it either. So they have roughly about a half level lead where they're going to try and capitalize somewhere. The Giants pushing in the bottom lane will gain a little bit more value for them, but ultimately, Cog is not going to find a way to force a fight, and we aren't going to see Blaze try and force the turn-in until they do hit that 20 tier.
Yeah, they're just going to play very passively. See, they're all just kind of taking the optimal safe routes to get towards that bottom lane where the Giants have been pushing on in.
Yeah, the only real situation where they're able to get enough coins to force a turn-in would possibly have been on a boss play, but way too aggressive for Cognitive, so smart play from them, trying to wait it out a little bit here. They're 1 coin away now to confirm the turn-in, but their opponents have hit 20 as well, so they will be able to delay. They're going to just dump the coins here. I like this call. It's something where they aren't necessarily winning the turn-in, but they aren't risking losing coins if they lose the next team fight, right? It's a safe play here from Cognitive. I love this decision.
All right, well, it looks like the teams are going to collide. Lunara just a little bit behind. She's making her way down, and she is there ready to roll. Only 1 coin is needed on the side of Cognitive, but forcing their attention denies them the chance to go up to that Bruiser camp in the top lane, whilst there is a Bruiser camp in favor of Team Blaze.
Uther is yet to take a 20 talent. He's been 20 for a very long time. He's been hiding it. I don't know if this is going to be for like a D-Shield extension or something else. I don't understand the full purpose of this right now. But it's going to be interesting to see what Iacona does with that. Here's the engage. Caterpillar moving in.
Coffin looking for the flank, looking for a big Maw. Only gets the one target, and the Divine Shield at the last moment connects there on Glaurung, who disengages away. We see Battery diving in, looking for a weak target, but I don't think he can get there. But the Sundering from afar locks down Iacona, and that is a dead Uther. He did grab Redemption, so he'll be up in just a moment, but can they secure another kill? The Ghost is getting those heals on Cattle. Cattle does have the sustain, and Uther will respawn with Redemption.
Yeah, and so that was Iacona waiting until he knew if he would need to use Spell Shield or something else to win the game there, and then taking it directly before the team fight, so he didn't risk dying or losing anything there. He was essentially leaving up his options in case Storm Shield would have been a little bit better there, so really good play from there. I just thought he was trying to hide it for maybe like an extended D-Shield style play with Greymane or something. I don't know. Some of these teams, Cognitive and Blaze, both very creative there, so they do walk away with a minor loss, but remember how they coin dumped?
Yeah.
They didn't lose anything.
They didn't lose anything.
That's huge, because now they've stopped their opponent's ability to turn in again, right? They got the turn in, but we're 19 minutes into the game, and Blaze is getting forts with their turn in.
Yeah, Blaze is getting a fort. We did see the Bruisers push both lanes, but the Bruiser of Cog did far more damage. You can see the bottom right keep on the side of Team Blaze is actually rather low, and now Blaze is looking to go for a boss. If they manage to get Glaurung out of position here, the barrel not really securing him they want, just barely missing him to push him into that corner, but Battery is still in the front line. The Wolf actually connects from Thrall, and Glaurung is going to need Divine Shield if he wants to get out of this, but 10 seconds left on that cooldown. Glaurung is going to go down.
Yeah, and that was a situation where they're, Falstad going to be fine, trying to insert more, no, but it's a situation where this boss would be threatening, yes, but they only needed one coin to turn in. They're going to go back and get this turn in.
Yeah.
Honestly, what I'd like to see from Cognitive is fake the core. Don't even get the turn in. Maybe leave one person to turn in, but everybody else should be faking core right now as best as they possibly can, trying to pull them off the boss. You can manipulate your opponent on this map because it's so large. Look at the distance between boss and the core, right?
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Almost got the interruption there from Rafflecopter. We see actually they use the Iron Skin to go through that gust. The Blast Shield going out in Raffle, and now Raffle is in a very dire situation. Cattle going to get the condemned once again, and over the wall, Li Ming.
That was huge from Faye there. And not only that, they got the turn in and they got the pick. So what went from a very sketchy situation on the side of Cognitive to an advantage. Yes, they got a boss, but really, what is this boss going to do? It's a 20-minute boss in the lane. Notice how on this map the lanes are so long that it gives the longest amount of time for Cognitive to be able to defend. They got both of the chests. They got 2 keeps over their opponent. They aren't even down a keep, and they have a 30-second time advantage. Cognitive is in a pretty position here when it comes to this game, Jake.
They're looking beautiful.
Absolutely
Compared
gorgeous.
to game number 1, a huge adjustment here on Blackheart's Bay out of the side of Cognitive, commanding this game, but they do have to respond to this boss of Team Blaze. The Golem marching down the top lane. The towers are already down due to the Bruiser camp that was picked up a bit earlier, but it's not going to do too much damage to that keep. On the other side, we see just 1 keep remaining for Team Blaze, and it's actually very low already.
Yeah, and they're in a situation where the coin's 15 into 13. So what I want to talk about here is a little bit about the worry from Cognitive when it comes to the turn-in. You need to realize that they're in a situation...
Over the wall, Li Ming actually has that 60% slow, the level 20 upgrade on Disintegrate, but not quite enough for a follow-up.
Yeah, and it's one of the situations where every turn-in is going to be huge. Oh, but Iacona trying to get that flank. Yeah, great dismount. He does have Shrink Ray, so he might be able to make a play.
They know they need that gust, but the Iron Skin from Johanna not catching anyone. Great response from both sides. Very, very dicey situation.
Yeah, and one thing to talk about in this game is really how this game would be honestly completely different. It wasn't for the pickup there from Glaurung at 13 tier. That increased range just saved him around that barrel so many times, right? He gets slightly out of position and he barrels to, or he cues to the side and he ends up dodging the barrel in so many situations. So really good pickup there from Glaurung. But again, they can honestly give up turn-ins because they're only threatening to keep. Meanwhile, they have so many other advantages elsewhere on the map here on the side of Cognitive. I'm just afraid that this is going to come down to teams panicking a little bit too much over this turn-in.
Okay, Mighty Gust up in 2 seconds there for Falstad. I mean, we do see Raffle just kind of trying to control this space, denying that turn-in. A turn-in here on the side of Cognitive could be absolutely disastrous because that keep only needs about 2 shots total to eliminate it, and from there, it's all damage onto the core. And that's just absolutely something that cannot be afforded on the side of Blaze.
Absolutely, they can't be afforded. It won't end the game, but it will do a lot of damage to the core. No mule option for them to save it up. And then out from Li Ming, but what we need to look at here is the Lunara damage and how it's used with the disengages over and over again. They have Karzim, great sustained healing. They have, not only that, they have healing.
Oh my goodness. Claudius just absolutely obliterated there. And this now turns into an almost impossible situation for the side of Blaze.
Absolutely. Not only that, they lost a couple of coins, and they're almost going to be enough to be able to turn in here.
That is game with that Maw connecting. There's no way that Blaze brings this back. They can just march on in. You see how ham Glaurung is going the 7th set of strike. He doesn't even care. Huge is mincemeat and 3 heroes down. There's a turn-in available, but they can just march their way to the core, Dreadnought.
Yeah, and you see them actually going through mid rather than deciding to go through bottom. Where they keep is they're losing essentially 20 seconds in this decision. Barrel is not going to be up for 30. Falset won't be up for a very long period of time. They're still going to be able to secure this game, but definitely losing a little bit of free time there. Lunara is just going to be sitting here trying to get as much poke as she can, but Cognitive still looking like they don't know if they want to do this.
Yeah, that was really, really slow approach they made here. You see Battery diving on in. He does have that barrel to try to disrupt if he decides to do so. We see Divine Shield on Glowering to try to maximize the damage. Core down to just 40% health remaining, and it looks like Cognitive has secured it. We're going to a game number 3.
Absolutely. Really well done on the side of Cognitive being able to come back from that game. They had a huge lead in the early game when it came to the coins and everything else. They did that. They played the game very, very well, but honestly, whatever happened at the end of the thrall, it happened within a matter of seconds, and it was what won them the game.
That's called dumpster status. Like, you just got thrown in the trash.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of it came out to Li Ming mixed with Glarong there and go for the throw there, but this is the early game picks that really kind of made Blaze. They're out-rotating. They did a really good job in the early half. They didn't get the coins, but they did everything pretty well, Jake.
Look at the follow-up from that Maw. I mean, just disintegrate from afar. The reset you get onto Li Ming. So much damage output. Divine Shields were clutch onto Glaurung every single fight. Like a huge prop to Iacona. He has that R key ready to be pressed.
No, that was a prime example, especially against that double disengage, right? They have so many opportunities to try and isolate. It's really hard to de-shield when you do have the barrel coming onto you all the time. This is one of those, look at Lunara's damage in this team fight. It's insane. Like what she does here, she just, the entire time she was got everybody that low and then continues to push in harder and harder here. Again, Glaurung getting caught in the top lane. That was a huge play for Blaze. And then right here at the very end here, I think it's going to be Thrall just securing a major, major pick. And look at that damage.
Oh my goodness. I mean, talk about burst damage. Those new heroes, Greymane and Li Ming, they hit pretty hard.
The double reset, man, it's real.
It is.
It's just, it's insane when it is success. I mean, I know a lot of European teams are really looking to pick that kind of style play up, and that's a little bit what I was touching up on the earlier part of the tournament, right? Is these kind of regions from all over the world have come to kind of North America today, where it's like I feel like this tournament is kind of pulling in from everywhere and making an NA develop its own new meta.
It's awesome.
It all started with just scrims here at this. It's been amazing to watch it develop.
Yeah. Well, Sky Temple will be the third and final map of this best of 3 series here in the round 1 of Group B between Blaze and Cognitive. But wow, what a turnaround. Game 1, Blaze was completely dominant in every way.
Absolutely.
Right? They just looked like they were toying with Cognitive.
Yeah, pretty much.
And in Game 2 was quite the opposite. I mean, just controlling the jungle, controlling the coin collection, dominating the chest. The creep spread build from Zagara just gave them so much vision. The Wisp was just desperate to try to get some kind of eyes on, but it never seemed to be enough.
Absolutely. And it's now we're moving the map to, like you said, Sky Temple. I think this is going to be a more comfort zone when it comes to Cognitive. I know that for a long time, a lot of these players did really prefer this type of map, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how well they do play it out. A lot of it's going to be with those rotations, which we saw Blaze showed they know how to rotate.
Yeah,
personally, I feel like they've out-rotated Cognitive on a lot of fronts. It just came down to a couple small mistakes on their front, and it led to them kind of just losing the game there. So I want to see whether or not Cognitive can deal with the aggressive rotations, because those are very complemented on this map comparative to the last one.
Dread, I mean, I don't know if it's like the 7th cup of coffee I've had today or just these games, but I am shaking with excitement for game number 3. And Team Blaze will have that first ban in the draft.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of the same prioritization. I don't think the map brings anything new to these two teams. I think Zeratil's still going to be the hottest topic between them both. I do think Greymane is going to be a really heavy go-to. Only on Cognitive, again, we might see the Cho'Gall coming up from Blaze. But realistically, I do want to see heavy prioritization of, I would like to see a global. I do think it becomes really effective on this map for the most part. If you're smart with your team and smart with your pick bans, you shouldn't force it, but if you can comfortably get one on this map, you will sit far ahead of your opponent.
Things have changed. Zeratul has not been banned for the first time. Blaze could go for first pick Zeratul themselves.
Banned it out. They aren't willing to risk it.
So Rhaegar makes it through.
Keep in mind, Illidan's not terrible on this map either.
And Abathur, Illidan, Abathur, Rhaegar, imagine that. Ooh. Imagine that on Sky Temple. That is so powerful.
Absolutely. And Cognitive would have to adapt to having an absurdly strong early game to be able to accent that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays. I don't know. I haven't specifically seen if Blaze actually plays the Abathur. I doubt that they don't. I mean, everybody here is phenomenal players.
Abathur.
Okay, so how Cognitive is going to respond to this? The Rhaegar is going to be picked up here. And so I don't know. Cognitive is in a situation where their first game plan was essentially this, right? And then they locked in the Thrall, and then they locked in the Falstad. Yeah. But Einstein's definition of insanity. I'm afraid that might be the case here.
We're not looking at all the other options. We talked about Rhaegar enabling Cho'Gall. Cho'Gall is great on this map. I mean, when it comes to fighting over these shrines or the temples, you just got unlimited mana and poke from Gall, and that just gives you so much presence to whittle down your opponents. So Cog, they've really got to take that into consideration. Do they really want to go for that Falstad, or do they need to look for something else that might be a little bit more versatile?
I prefer a little bit more versatile. They're going to lock in the Jaina. Okay, I like that pickup there. Like I said, I think if this goes farther in the draft, they are going to be locking in Greymane. I just don't see them saying no to that, really, with how heavy Glaurung has been concentrating on that. From Team Blaze, they have a lot of routes to go. I think Tacitar's kind of going to be one of those musts that we see out of them.
If they want to get Cho'Gall, they could go Illidan Abathur right now, though.
I don't know if you need to lock in the Abathur, honestly. If you lock in... I don't know. There's a lot of different routes. You're not wrong. Like, you definitely can. I get afraid of when I see Abathur Illidan versus I would rather see a Tacitar Illidan and just leave the Abathur kind of out of that situation.
Just make that a threat that exists inherently, and Tacitar is a little bit more flexible.
And I mean, why would you fix something that isn't broken? They essentially bodied Cognitive game one with this exact style draft right now, and they could just keep pushing
What you're saying, too, actually, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, Tacitar, if they went that with Illidan, in theory, they could still go Cho'Gall. Oh, they lock in Cho'Gall already before we even make it to the bans.
They said, we know you're going to want to ban it, and we just don't care. And Rhaegar Cho'Gall together, Blaze has been kind of known for their Cho'Gall. They've been giving everyone at all levels here at this tournament a hard time with that pickup, so I absolutely love it on their side. How Cognitive is going to respond, expect them to look to those hard counters to Cho'Gall. Any percentile damage is going to be a really big advantage for them. They already have locked in the Thrall, which is going to be their solo laner on the bottom half of the map. I don't know where they're going to move with the rest of this draft. I think Karazim is going to be a top pick point.
Yeah.
Leoric possibly could. I don't typically like seeing him in a solo take type situation.
Well, let's think of like those big health pool slayers. I mean, yes, Karazim very good for 7-sided strike, but Raynor kind of steps up in priority a lot of times just because of, you know, if you can go seasoned marksman with Giant Killer, he chunks through Cho'Gall's health pool like rather severely.
Yeah, he definitely does. And it is something that we might see. If we do see that, I would expect to see a medic, and also that's speaking of medic, just beyond the Raynor is going to be a topic point
with
just
Sim
because
drone in
I mean,
or even medevac.
Yeah, well, not only that, Yuja's medic is great, but it pairs really well with Cho'Gall. Like Cho'Gall being able to sit there and harass you with infinite mana, now just give them an absurd amount of health on top of that with that constant healing coming out from the medic. But Falstad is going to be locked in, banned there, removing another sustained DPS. So this is going to be the game of the mages. Interesting choice considering the fact that Cho'Gall does have a lot of kind of sustained oriented poke, and Cognitive now going to be responding. Are they going to still take Greymane even with Cho'Gall being picked up?
So this is really interesting. We got to think about, I mean, Greymane could be definitely big, sure, but we got to think about some of the heroics that are very good against Cho'Gall, the double hero. So sometimes we see Maw being used, sometimes you see Mosh Pit locking him down. Is there a world where a new Barak for Cocoon would ever be picked up?
There is a world. It's called Europe. There is a world, but Raynor's going to be locked in. I wouldn't say it's outside of the North American spectrum, if you will, but it's definitely not nearly as comfortable.
I haven't seen a noob in so long.
Yeah, it's a far bigger hot topic when it comes to the other regions. But Raynor is going to be locked in there, so I think Medic is almost 100%, and I don't think they can let the I guess they're going to wait it. They're going to wait it out because Rhaegar already going to be picked up there. They're going to be trying to get their tank here. I prefer a Murden, I think, in this situation. I don't know. When facing against that Cho'Gall, he's just so hard to deal with. You need a very strong front line. ETC's off the board.
Johanna wouldn't be a bad call.
She isn't terrible. I just feel like she doesn't really provide too much to the table. When you deal with Cho'Gall, having kind of those passive-oriented heroes aren't necessarily where I'm like, you know what, I'm dealing really well with the Cho'Gall right now. I'm just kind of like, well, you know, he's a thing. And I feel like, okay, they are going to lock in a Murden, and kind of helps out with that a little bit there. I think ETC definitely would have been stronger. I think Cognitive's last pick,
I feel like it's going to be, it's Karazim or it's going to be Medic. I personally think Medic, without a doubt, with the lock-in from the Rainer, going to have that stim drone. But how is Team Blaze going to round it out? Are they going to look for a double tank?
Lunara sounds pretty good to me, just for a lot of poke.
Okay.
And maybe a second warrior. But with ETC and Murden both being taken, I'm not really too sure. I mean, they could do Stitches, but that sounds very odd. They're going to go for Johanna.
They're going to, yeah, that interesting choice. They're going to lock in the JoJo. I am really afraid if they lock in Lunara.
Really?
Yes. Only because of the early game.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm really afraid of Team Blaze's scaling right now. Yes, the harass from Cho'Gall is pretty neat and really good, but for the most part, I don't know if they pick Lunara, if they have an absurd late game. Just if they struggle at any part of the early game, I just feel like Cognitive, especially in a map like this, you don't necessarily have to take those team fights in the later half of the game. You can trade, and they'll end up eventually gets to the point where the team who won the early game has to, the opponents have to fight them, right? And that might be a situation to where Cognitive just gets too big of a lead. So Team Blaze really figuring out what they want in that last pick up there.
All right, well, yeah, they're definitely giving this a good amount of thought, and it's going to be Li Ming, you know, that big burst, range, poke, power. They have so much long-range damage between just Gall and Li Ming alone that you might, sometimes you look at Cho'Gall and you say, oh, yeah, there's not that much burst damage. No, there's tons. I don't know what that voice was, but there's a lot of damage.
There definitely is tons of damage there.
That's like the 7th cup of coffee voice, where I try to say 8 words at once, or the little baby voice comes out and everyone makes what face?
But Li Ming is going to be rounding out their composition. I definitely like the Li Ming a lot more. I think a mage is something that will complement their composition. They do have a little bit of the sustain, poke, and harass. Medic is somebody who can kind of deal with it, especially if they have somebody staying at the front lines, right, to tank a majority of it. It's when Medic has to spread her healing is when she struggles a little bit there. So how she plays her build is something that I'm also going to be looking at. 16 if they decide to go with inoculation versus shield sequencer, that double W to kind of help with that spread damage, or are they really kind of worried with that poke? Also, I mean, I don't want to, like, I want to say it, but like I just want to see upheaval and I want to see twisting.
Oh, please. Please.
If there's a game to do it, why not do it against Medic Rainer?
The prophecy.
Why not do it against Medic Rainer, right? Like
upheaval's like 3 hooks in 1. That you can't miss. Well, you can, but it's a lot harder to.
I still think that it's something that we will possibly see before the end of the tournament here. And if a team's going to do it, why would it not be Blaze? Not only are they known for the Cho'Gall, but they're just known for just innovating.
Yeah, they've got that funky stuff in their shorts.
I mean, pretty much, but they make it work, right? So how funky is it, really? But here we go. We're going to go into game number 3 between Cognitive and Team Blaze here in their first set. And we're going to have Iacona is going to be playing Lieutenant Morales. Cthulhu Luck will be on the Rainer. Glarung is going to be on the Thrall. Faye will be playing the Jaina, and Caterpillar will be playing the Murden.
On the side of Team Blaze, in game number 3, it's Claudius on Cho. Rhaegar going to be playing by Huge. Rafflecopter playing Li Ming. We have Battery on Johanna and DXN on Gall. Game 3 on Sky Temple. Let's hop right on into it. This is it. One team will advance to the upper bracket finals of Group B, and one team will fall for a second chance in the lower bracket finals.
My heart and soul is crushed a little bit right out the gates with the Blazing Bulwark picked up by Cho.
No surging fits.
It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, Jake. It just means it's a little less probable.
I'm so sad.
The upheaval dream, it might be dead, honestly. Other than that, nothing too crazy here at the level 1s. I would say the early game is probably going to fall a little bit in favor on, depending on Li Ming's positioning. I do feel like Cognitive wins the early game, but if Li Ming gets a very good flank, especially around the site here, I do think they're going to struggle a little bit. Again, Medic's positioning is crucial.
She's still thinking about her talent, though. Medic still hasn't locked in. She's really contemplating it. Wow, 60-40, very, very torn here in the community, thinking as who's going to win this match. But that's just because the match has been so very close.
Absolutely, and both of these teams have played very, very well, and I wouldn't be surprised to see either of these teams kind of walk away with it. They both go head-to-head here in the mid lane, kind of just doing their own thing, getting the wave clear as best they can. Wave clear falling in favor of Cognitive. The rotations, Thrall going to be on the bottom half of the map, but you see an interesting choice, a little bit of a tri-lane on bottom between the Cho'Gall and Yuge here. They're just going to get as much harass on the bottom half of the map as they possibly can. This is the harassment that we see from Blaze. This is why nobody gives them Cho'Gall.
The Eye of Kilrog placement also has been beautiful. They had one in the boss pit that Kettle actually picked off just a moment ago, and they have one in the bottom lane just positioned over that center big hallway that exists there. So very interesting placements there for those Eye of Kilrogs. But beyond that, everything looking pretty standard so far at the start of the game. We're going to see Thrall really starting to farm up with Seasoned Marksman. Not necessarily the most common level 1 talent, but they really need the additional auto attack damage to kind of chunk through the health bar of Cho'Gall.
Yeah, and you see the level 1 here. Still not picked up from Morales. I don't know if this is a bug or he's getting a little bit of the delay here on his pickup. Again, Iacona's mind gaming me left and right when it comes to this talent priority. The last one made sense after he pulled it out, but it's a little bit interesting here. So the early rotations coming up on Cho'Gall is going to be on to the shrine here. Notice Jaina is rotating the bottom half of the map, but nobody has started the top shrine at all. This is going to be a really risky situation from Cognitive. I don't think they can deal with the harassment going to come out of this Cho, and they aren't getting the shots on top, so it shows that they aren't indicating the trade. They do end up getting on it, but it's going to be a little bit late. Really good stall out here coming out from Cog. Again, now turning the tides. This is really well done on their part. They're soaking more than their opponents, and they're delaying the shots as best they can. That's really well done. This is impressive play coming out from Cog. But now the rotations. This is going to be a head-to-head battle here, Jake.
Yeah, when you have Johanna stepping into the front line, you got to be very careful, especially with that surging fizz that can go forward. But Battery, rather weak in the back, has to back away. So he's just going to return to that top lane, maybe tap the well if it's available. But this is still a temple that's been very much in favor of Team Blaze due to that presence. I mean, now we're starting to see it go to the side of Cog, experience more or less dead even.
Yeah, and now we see...
Oh, wow. This is rough for Battery.
Absolutely. We're in a situation to where we do see that Trauma Trigger is going to be picked up for that medic, but then also the Shrine's going to be capped by Blaze a lot when it comes to that Cho'Gall here, and nobody's capping the top Shrine. So this is really relevant to whoever walks away with the win on the Shrine is mostly going to walk away with a win on the next Shrine, right? So if that's the situation, guess what? Because the shots here on mid are being capped so quickly, they're most likely going to be able to make the rotation and contest the top shrine as well. So usually when they do not trade like this and one team is significantly winning over the other, they're essentially going to get a very big lead. And so Blaze might be setting themselves up, especially because nobody's soaking the bottom lane on the side of Cognitive.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be rough if they don't get there anytime soon. But we do see Cog controlling that top temple, so that's going to give them some good structural presence there in that lane. Faye burning through this minion wave with Blizzard in the bottom, pushing it back and going to secure themselves a nice, slight experience lead.
Yeah, and it does seem like the rotation is going to be a little bit slow on the side of Blaze, so they're going to give Cog's actually going to back out to those shots, expecting the rotation there. It wasn't quite as fast as I had hoped to. They show somebody on the bottom half of the map. They might try and get a little bit of skirmish up here, but realistically, no team kind of pulling too far ahead of the other. I feel like they might have been able to at points, but Venom going to be picked up for Thrall at level 4. A little bit interesting. Also keep in mind nade build, but here, huge pickup here in the mid lane. Yuge getting caught out there. Merge is completely blocking him, getting the dwarf toss in order to body block here, Jake, and Cognitive gets a little bit of a win there.
Yeah, I mean, getting that early pickoff, not only does it give them level 7 first, but it just buys them an option to try to get an advantage for the second temple phase. So we could see a rotation for those mercenary camps a little bit earlier, since it's going to be a little bit of a delay there on Rhaegar.
Yeah, and now both these teams kind of dancing now. Keep in mind on this map, we do see Thrall starting the camp really early here. So on this map, there is a very complex dance between the map objectives. But typically, when you see Cognitive starting the map objective this early, because the shots were so slow, remember how long it took the shrines to spot, or the second shrine to finish, you're going to see them cap these knights on top, cap giants, and then 4-man push with the bottom giants on the front wall to secure the fact that their next shrine, which is going to be bottom, gets more value. Instead, they're going to back out, they're going to leave it up, and they're going to stall it out.
I like it.
So they're going to take a more traditional route here, but it is an aggressive route that I do see a lot of the top teams decide to take at times.
Let's talk about some of these Cog builds, because we're actually seeing follow-through picked up here for Thrall. He's going for that full-on auto attack style. We're seeing not only Arcane Intellect, but of course the Pierce there on Frostbolt for Jaina, and Mule there. Very common only on this map.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite picks up here coming up from Iacona. Deciding to secure in that Mule, then essentially every time you trade shrines from this point on, right? Cognitive is in a winning situation because they're going to have a Mule to heal it up. This front wall is not going to survive, and that Mule's actually maybe going to die here. He's going to heal it up there to ensure that it doesn't die there. It will get a little bit of value, not necessarily max because it is concentrating the fort.
He's going back to heal it again.
Yeah, he wants that thing alive. I don't blame him, honestly. Meanwhile, in the upper half of the map, they're getting a little bit of skirmish, and nobody really pulls out too far ahead of each other. I would say the advantage is going to sit in favor of Cognitive, largely because the positional advantage on the shrine, number 1. Number 2, they have the camp pushing in their favor, and they have that little bit of XP advantage. So race to 10's on, and Cognitive barely pulling ahead here, Jake.
Yeah, very, very slightly ahead. I'm actually rather surprised that Blaze wasn't able to even find a time to go for their top bruiser camp, but Cho'Gall taking a ton of damage, down to half health already, trying to retreat. Where's the Surging Fist? Where's the charge? The stun comes out, and Cho'Gall might go down from the poison, just barely getting a chain heal in time.
Yeah, that's a situation where, yes, he didn't die, but honestly, does it really matter? They're in a situation where they just pulled 2 people back, and they're winning the race to 10. They're instantly giving up on the situation and soaking elsewhere. Now it's really, it's going to be a who can get the most amount of soak to try and catch up in the situation. Rotations are crucial. Cho is now going to soak the upper half of the map because they know they can't contest here.
Rainer's Raiders, a really uncommon heroic that we don't see that often in competitive.
It's very good against the Cho'Gall, right?
True.
The single target damage, so you can see he is specking a little bit in there to get rid of that Cho'Gall and try and get as much damage as he possibly can with Raiders there. And then we do see Cho'Gall is pushing the upper half of the map and getting a little bit of value, but we did not see we don't see it. Look at Cho'Gall, no ultimate yet.
He's thinking. Does he go for the upheaval? So there's no twisting nether. We do have Shadow Bolt Volley for Gall, but Cho hasn't decided between Twilight's Hammer or the upheaval.
Got him.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I've been waiting for. I love this pickup here. Now, what I want to see is look at Iacona also not taking it. Is he going to take a medvac as kind of a response? The upheaval come out. He decides to medvac out and make sure that he can't get pulled in that type of situation. But that's going to pull away from the stim drone that it might be necessary to ensure the kill for the Rainer onto this. This is the mind games coming into play in game number 3 here between these two teams.
We might even see Thrall stim drone because of the build that Thrall's going.
Yeah.
So as much as it's very common to see on Rainer, he did go for Give Me More rather than to go for Seasoned Marksman level 1, and it might be the priority for Thrall, but we see Coughlin caught a bit out of position. Rainer's Raiders being used very early in the battle, but that Surging Fist to push him back, beautifully done by Cho'Gall.
Boss on the bottom half of the map is going to be going down.
Oh man, Li Ming scouts it out, can't stop it on her own, and they're just too far away, so Cog throwing away Rainer or Boss, I think that's worth it.
Yeah, kind of, considering the fact that the ford's down though, is this boss really going to get that much? The only advantage I would say out of the situation is because Cho'Gall kind of has that bad siege, it's going to force a really aggressive rotation, but that pick, that was huge coming out there to get that pick on the Rhaegar. Usually going to fall down a little bit there, and now that boss is now even more valuable. Cho can securing the camp on the upper half of the map, but the boss going to be only threatening a front wall here. 13 tier advantage, almost picked up by Cognitive.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very strong performance for them so far. I mean, Rafflecopter doing his best to defend this. Might lose about 1 tower, but Cog, you know, really flexing that boss's advantage in other ways. They're going for mercenary camps, aggressively grabbing those giants, soaking effectively in all 3 lanes. They're about to have level 13, a full level ahead of Team Blaze.
Absolutely, and look at Iacona, I want to know if he's going to take the talent. He's going to wait it out. He's going to wait to not even take his 13
He doesn't have a heroic.
He's waiting to take the 13 after he takes his ult. I don't think you would hide your ultimate this long unless you're taking medvac. I don't see any other reason, because with the Rainer, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to go stim drone.
He's doing it just to troll us.
I mean, pretty much, honestly, at this point. I mean, congratulations, he wins. Like, I've gotten trolled about 2 times at this point. But now the upheaval play is going to be absolutely crucial. Molten Core hasn't been picked up here because 13 talents here is not achieved yet, and that is crucial when it comes to this style of play here. But the shots early going to be capped here by Blaze, excuse me.
The other big power spike, though, is Yuji's going to get that Earth Shield on the shield, which is huge for
15%.
Not only Cho'Gall, but it's actually quite good on Johanna as well, so just 50% of their total health pool.
Yeah, and they do have Li Ming getting a couple shots on bottom, and they know it's going to be a 5 vs 4. Okay, they're going to go with the stim drone.
Is that coupled healing as well? Oh my goodness, the Ancestral Heal has to be used very early there to keep up Cho'Gall, and Shadow Bolt Volley doing a lot of damage to Glaurung in the back. Rainer's Raiders being popped cattle in the front, and the focus there on Cho'Gall forces out a beautiful Molten Block, denying that Sundering to connect, but Cho'Gall goes down either way. We see the Rainer's Raiders have expired, but 2 heroes down and make that 3. Beautiful start to this game from Cognitive.
Absolutely, and that was a really interesting situation. I know that upheaval isn't something that we normally see, and yes, it wasn't necessarily that impactful in that team fight, but Li Ming was bottom getting shots the entire time, and Team Blaze knew this, but they still decided to risk that fight. But not only risk it, the minute that it got like really scary for Cho'Gall, they upheavaled into the team to secure 1 more kill there. So little bit of maybe a misplay or miscommunication at least here on their side. Now double shots falling in favor of Cognitive. I want you to take a minute to appreciate that mule really fast right now, because look at the forts going to be sitting in the side of Cognitive.
Clean, brand new.
Absolutely.
They've got that new fort feel when you go shopping.
They even smell like new forts.
Man.
But now we're in a situation where that mule, not only do you have 16 tier advantage over your opponent, you have structural advantage, and that means far more than you would appreciate on this map.
Faye getting collapsed on. A lot of damage. The upheaval
got him.
Denied by the ice block, but it doesn't matter. Shadow Bolt Volley confirms the kill, but so much was spent just to kill one hero.
Yeah, that was 3 ultimates just for 1 kill there and a couple of shots on the bottom half of the map. But you know what? Lieutenant Morales now feeling really, really good about this type of situation. Look at that. She's going to be like, have this, probably proc the heal on it right away. It won't get much value here, but you see him constantly trying to min-max that as best as he can here. But again, so what I wanted to talk about with that structure lead, right? What does that really mean when it comes to Cognitive? Yes, they do have a 2-level lead. Yes, they have a talent tier advantage, but what I was talking about, the structure lead on this map is more crucial than every other one, largely because every time you trade shrines, they're going to be muling it up, but not only that, you're going to be gaining more. While they're threatening a fort, but the Sunder here going to force the fight.
Just on Cho'Gall, I believe he still has Molten Block. There it goes, being cast, sustaining through the damage, but his life is more or less forfeit as he was surrounded on all sides. Dwarf toss in from, we do see Cattle going forward, but not going to be able to look for that Stormbolt as the only viable target was Johanna.
Yeah, and the minute they get this pick, you see them rotating and possibly bottom giants, or at least to get a keep front wall. So structures are more valuable on this map than others, just again because the map objective does threaten the shots everywhere to get more and more keeps. So for every map objective or every structure you get down, the bigger advantage you possibly get. Boss is spawning in 45 seconds here for these teams, so it's not going to be a lethal point for a long period of time. But nothing too crazy so far. It's honestly Cognitive's game to lose at this point.
Oh, yeah.
They get to choose every fight. They aren't forced to do anything crazy. And Upheaval with the Shadow Bolt has seemed a little bit unimpactful. I definitely would have liked to see a Twisting Nether out of this if they are going to decide to go the Upheaval.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, definitely could have had some cool big fights, but... Oh yeah, with Rhaegar, with that shield, of course, the lightning shield, especially level 16, very powerful. But you're noticing a lot of small things. I mean, Cog pushed forward, they took out 1 tower. That might not seem that impactful. Sure, it's a little bit of experience, but on Sky Temple, when there's no mule on the side of Blaze, that means so much. I mean, how many shots is that? At least like 8?
It's yeah, it's going to be, I would say, a little bit less than that, but it is huge. You are correct, because those shots add up over time. Yeah. And you see Cognitive getting a little bit of harassment there, but like, for instance, on bottom, those little bit of shots they manage to get because the Giants that they have pressuring, more Giants pressuring now with the map objective, it might walk away getting the turret, and that might be enough. But Cognitive, Glaurung getting really aggressive.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of damage. We see the shield coming out from Medic. Shadow Bolt Volley trying to connect. Those flat 2 hits are enough. Raiders being summoned down onto Johanna, and the Ancestral to top off Cho'Gall. He's going ham, finds Coffin Luck, but we see the Stim drone just giving him so much power, so much presence. Cattle steps forward, but in the end, that is a good pickoff for Team Blaze.
I think it's absolutely crucial that they capitalize on the map objective here as best as they possibly can.
Try to get both.
Yeah, and it's risky when they have Cho'Gall because it forces bad rotations just innately because 2 characters are covered in 1 body, right? So it's going to be a struggle here, but I think it's crucial that they end up doing that.
Wow, that was a Stormbolt that hit 3 players, and that's not something you see all that often. Commanding a lot of presence there from Cattle. Cho'Gall very low on the health pool. Going to wait for Rhaegar to rotate down before he gets a little bit more aggressive, and Battery has made his way down here. So the full presence on this mid-shrine from Blaze, just forcing back Cognitive.
Yeah, they're getting the skirmish left and right here, but one thing to keep in mind is nobody's back to clear these Giants.
Oh, wow.
They've not only taken out a turret, they're going to take out a well. They're going to threaten probably 25%. Their Li Ming is now going to respond to it of the health of this keep. And you remember you were talking about, well, that doesn't seem like much, but that went from that turret, or that bottom shot's barely confirming the keep to now confirming the keep and now threatening that middle keep as well.
They're getting a boss.
Oh, Cog making a really aggressive rotation from their opponents here, but this might be risky. Is this going to be the moment? Johanna's going to be really, really slow to rotate here. People's only going to bring you onto the point, not away.
Okay, well, without Johanna, I don't know if the contestants, they're stepping forward. The big Sunder going out just onto Li Ming. Cho'Gall in the front with the Ancestral Heal. The point trying to be captured, but Cho'Gall gets back on it at the last moment, popping that Molten Block, and Glaurung gets fallen. 3-4 heroes down on the side of Cognitive, and the throw pit is real.
Yeah, that was a really interesting situation.
Oh no, they're going for that bottom keep.
Yeah, no, they need to. They're going to try and end. They aren't going to sidewall, but they can't sidewall because they don't have the boss, right? So what they're going to do is try and just min-max the damage as best they possibly can here at this situation, and they might be able to walk with the game here. It's going to be a little bit risky. So let's think about the counter engage here when they do end up spawning. What do they have? No zoning tools whatsoever on the side of Blaze. They have none whatsoever. So the raw damage is all they have if they do manage to spawn. But honestly, I don't know if they're going to let them.
The boss is going to be stalled by that bottom tower. It might get baited into the mid lane, but they're going for the shields, dropping very rapidly. This could be it. Team Blaze with 1 team fight on the throw pit of Cognitive. They will win, advancing to the upper bracket finals here in Group B.
Absolutely. I mean, they played phenomenally, and they definitely deserved it. A lot of it came down to that boss call at the end. Some of the things that I do want to point out is Murden attempted to kind of leap using the unstoppable frame there and attempt to dodge something, but he leaped to the side, not away, even though he was low health. Yeah. And then the upheaval came into play, so he was essentially dead no matter what. It was I don't know exactly what the communication was at that point, but I definitely think that had heavy influence on the success of that boss.
Yeah, and Cho'Gall getting there just barely at the end, and we can see the power of that Shadow Bolt volley throughout the game, picking up a lot of clutch kills. Upheaval did have a fairly strong impact, but you saw Constant Sunderings doing so much on the side of Cognitive, dominating the whole first half of the game. They were ahead in XP almost probably 80% of the game, I'd say. I
mean, yeah, it started probably from level 9. From level 9 on, they had a huge lead over their opponents, and they got to the point where they structurally didn't need to take a risk. Guess what they did? They take a risk. One of the things, when I was a competitor in Shut Caller, see, there we go. They're going to contest the boss here, but the Upheaval's going to pull them in and barely get on the point.
Yeah, that was it. The Upheaval with the Ancestral connecting on Cho'Gall, allowing him to command that presence, especially with that Lightning Shield. They just melted 3 heroes that went down just like that.
Absolutely, and it was just really well done on their part, honestly. And I'm so glad to see, number one, the Upheaval, and number two, that I actually said it, and it did come out. Sadly, I didn't get any feedback from them on whether or not that would be a thing, but I've been waiting for Upheaval to be a thing in the North American scene, or even just anywhere with Cho'Gall, for a very long time, so really happy to see that come out here.
If I'm not mistaken, they do use it a bit in Korea.
A little bit, but I wouldn't say that it would be like a normal pickup by any means.
I wish it was. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that means Cog has fallen down to the lower bracket match. Blaze will advance forward, but we've got plenty more action moving forward, guys. And I just can't wait for more games.
No, I 100% agree with you. And a lot of it's going to come down to just how creative Blaze is in their future drafts, you know? I mean, they established themselves as the unique team.
All right, well, we've got an interview ready with Rafflecopter. Anna, take it away.
Guys, it's absolutely a pleasure to be here with Rafflecopter. You were just mentioning we have a history. I've seen you come through Heroes Hype Amateur Series, and now you're here. It's actually appropriate because you and Yude shared a motto with us, and it was started from the bottom, now we slightly above the bottom. Where's the bright line where you get out of slightly above the bottom and you're near the top? Because it feels like now is a good time.
Yeah, I would say if you're top 4, or, you know, if you're C9 or the Ventic, you're top. But I feel like everyone below those two teams are just really close in skill, and it's kind of a joke because, I don't know, you don't want to be too confident coming into the game. Might be cocky, I guess.
You guys sounded pretty confident. I mean, we could all hear your comms. Jake and Dredd, did you guys hear those comms from way over there?
Yeah, no, they were getting extremely loud and definitely aggressive. But, I mean, it was well played, especially with the Upheaval coming out there. I would be loud and excited if I was able to pull that out in the tournament.
Do you guys have any questions to follow up with Rafflecopter?
Actually, I have a bit of a spin on this. I want to ask Dredd, do you think it's worth being overconfident as a player? Do you think there's a value in that?
Well, just by default, the word overconfident means that it's probably to a fault. But I would say confidence is definitely something that you guys can use to your advantage, almost to the point where it is like over. Well, my direct question would be, have you ever considered just not taking Shadow Bolt? Because I really, really want to see Upheaval without it. I think, especially with the Rhaegar, the pairing would just be it would be very hard to deal with.
Yeah, we've tested it before, and they had Murden.
Yeah.
And we usually, if they have Murden, you have to watch out for the Haymaker.
Yeah.
And we have actually lost a scrim where we went Twisting Nether and they went Haymaker. Like, you completely lose your best
That's really cool.
Yeah, no, I can consider that, especially the disengage is something that you absolutely need to be looking at. So the Playmaker coming out and trying to be something to deal with, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Jake? Anything to follow up, or are you just happy?
Just stylistically, I mean, I love seeing Cho'Gall, but do you guys feel he's viable on every map? Because it's something we've been talking about a bit today, and it seems like you guys are willing to bust him out anytime.
Yeah, if you have Rhaegar and they have certain heroes, you know, honestly, I don't know exactly which heroes, but if they don't have the right damage, you can take Cho'Gall on almost any map. He's actually a threat on every single map if you're not prepared.
Well, cool. He certainly was a threat in this match, and now you guys will move on, and you have a big buffer between you and getting eliminated in this competition. You're already in the winner bracket, and I see you've brought your own trophy. Before we talk about the winner bracket, tell me about the Cheez-Its. Why are they here?
All right, so Twitch chat, we used to say Blaze It, and then they put a spin on it. We used to be Cheezers. I guess we still are. So they started saying 420 Cheez-It, and we just have to adopt it. Not selfless plug for Cheez-Its, but we just love the phrase, okay?
The endorsement deal is right around the corner. I can smell it.
Hopefully.
It smells cheesy.
Yo, Cheez-Its, please. We love your product.
So, with that in mind, are you going to cheese it up as you move forward in the competition?
Oh, there's always thick cheese. It's always ready.
Thick cheese. Not thin cheese.
No.
Awesome. Well,
double cheese burritos, whatever. We got it going.
I love burritos. This sounds awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations again. Guys, we have so many more matches for you. We are not going anywhere. You shouldn't either, so stick around and we'll be right back.